We are
Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. I'm joined by Stephen Rehfuss, and my name is Deemer. We're excited for today's game cast, and we're watching Boston College versus Syracuse. Big match. Syracuse already clinched the regular season title. But this game moved back.
Whatever kind of black person
really competitive. Stats.
Darius Rucker? No, I didn't say he's better than Biggie. But Biggie's not better than him.
yeah, pumpkins.
Why'd you put up on
not only have these two teams in the postseason.
what?
2021, BC won the first national championship in Syracuse final, and then last season BC and Syracuse they played each other in the Final Four in the semifinal. And BC came out with one victory there. So a lot of history, a lot of talent on both sides as we get into it.
See if it
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
go
interesting.
eat that pot.
I think both
Never
of these
come back.
teams have strong veteran force. I think
No.
that's
I'm kind of on one
I
today,
think
baby.
it'd be really
I'm in a bad mood.
parity.
Woo!
Lacrosse.
Why'd you put up on your story
Very
Weird Al Yankovic or Tupac?
I was proving a
Weird
point.
Al Yankovic one. Don't think that
I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say it's an indication of people to follow.
yes, it is. Don't ever think that Tupac is the most overrated musical artist of all time. He's not good. You have no. That is insane.
Biggie, I love.
Biggie's great. Yeah, because you don't know how to listen. You don't know the trials and tribulations of the black community.
That's probably true.
That's probably true. But I still like Biggie, because he sounds good. And his
That's
flow
what we're talking about. We're talking about music.
music is something that
Yeah.
makes you feel a certain way.
Okay, but you just said because he sounds good. What
That's
other?
why you
What
might
else
say
do I
like
have?
that.
I'm listening.
I can't
Feel the rhymes.
Yes, you can understand what they're saying. The dog days. The dog days.
Okay, give me an example of Tupac here.
Yeah, and the only one I'll also add is that I really love watching.
I said something.
I think she
Take your time.
one of the more physically dominant.
He's overrated.
He's so
Incredible job.
These West Coast guys can't battle.
Scores a lot of goals.
There's too much sunshine out there.
And obviously, she's
Understand the struggle. East Coast rap is way better than West Coast, right?
So she's one to also watch out for, especially when we try to back that Syracuse. So
Here we go. We didn't start here. Draw plays from the Dukes.
Fuck right now. In comparison to
One starting, one went out. True bulldog.
You want 56%.
Most times.
Yeah, because you're probably a little racist.
I have black
At
followers.
the same time, they're girls a little bit more field players. Will be a threat on offense. So that's the-
No. See, okay, well, then you should have voted. Don't get upset at the result.
all throughout on offense.
Tupac was lured out.
I would rather, if I could only listen to one of those guys.
you make such an interesting point, and I think it's something that in the women's game still hasn't caught on.
What's a Weird Al bar? They see me rolling, they hating, I roll in their ass because I'm so white and nerdy.
It's something that you see something like obviously you can have the ideal two-way midfielder.
Nerdy, that's great.
That's great. But
Weird Al's great.
We'll just keep an eye on
That is so
Racist.
Is that all you got? I'm trying to figure out. I'm pro dog.
Nice
and I'm-
first stop there in the Syracuse defense, getting one under the belt. And now we see Boston College on the defensive side. I think they're one of
those
those
are separate points, but
man-to-man defense.
I'm mad at the impressive.
Free to
You
get out
gotta be a certain way.
leaders, which show that result throughout the year.
I think you got
And you get out the pressure, and they're also ready to send slides. Jen Kent does a great job.
Weird Al bar. They see me
Rolling.
rolling, they hating, they roll in their ass because I'm so white and nerdy.
Yeah.
Gives me like nerdy. That's great.
Weird Al's great.
The Adamson scores backhand shove shot. feel like she's had a bunch of creative goals this season, and Syracuse has got to have that start.
Yeah, it's a beautiful play. And, you know, again, you
That's
got
all you got.
I'm trying to figure out.
I'm pro dog and I'm pro black people. Those are separate plans.
You know,
I'm mad at the oppressor who've been telling you got to be a certain way.
Beautiful.
I think you have
being able to
me,
that around
every-
the slide.
If you're
Yeah.
if you don't look at
Defensively,
like,
she's
you know, you're
there,
like,
she's a
okay,
little
well,
high, you know, so
this
kind
type of
of
person
getting top side, that
is
front
going
end
to do this.
slide, so.
or
But
or like,
yeah, that's a huge
you know,
Yeah,
just
everyone
makes
makes.
everyone's
Carries up that
that's human. That's human.
I think she's
Maybe
so
it's not
good.
even just the skin, but just like looking at someone's face and then everything combined with it, you're like, okay, I'm gonna
Yeah,
watch
she's
this
like
guy.
Steven, we just break that a couple weeks ago, like on the street, for high on their play.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
she's
could be a
got
white guy,
watch,
could
I
be a
think,
black guy. I don't think it has
Again,
anything
a
to
lot
do
of times people
with
figure
race
out.
per se,
Dodgers have
but
always
like
been
more.
most downhill, wanted by everyone, but she did such a great job of being
So,
receptive.
what do you think?
She's continued, you know, she's another one
My
that's
super
been around
boss.
forever, you know, making big time plays.
You're comfortable around them.
That's
You can speak your mind.
well, we see a draw control there. Syracuse won the draw. Kate Shepsey didn't win it to
They
herself.
don't micromanage.
But they were able to pick it out. So like draws are at 1-1 right now. Still no big start on BC that I'm seeing at least. That would be a good storyline to watch. I think they've been great starting a couple different fighters this season. So we'll look.
Yeah, we're here to help.
So, my boss the other day told me to do something, and it was such a easy thing. And I was like, why? It was like, why are you telling me to do something? Let's do this. Well, that's his job.
See Emma Tyler overall here. She's been coming on really strong. And I would say her last 8 or so games, I think she's been averaging 5.7 points per game.
We're good. We're good.
She was coming up from injury from last season. And I think just really great to see her kind of back in that full form. I think she's dealt with a couple injuries that Syracuse has kind of been really big injuries in the past couple years. But you see when she's
Let's try and help
this season, what's going. Nice by Syracuse.
Let's try.
Yeah, that's big for Keith going on possession number 3. And just starting to find their rhythm. You know, I thought it was interesting too, Steve, like fact that we talked about a lot, shooting with your 6 in the middle. That last one for Tyrell, she keeps the alley, obviously the DC double.
Try to get me light there. That's great.
Weird
Out's great.
Just 2 bucks. Shots like the ball.
Let's try and help you.
So when they cost turnover there
Let's
by
try and
Boston College.
Do you have
Yeah, I
any?
believe that was
You are.
Do
Do you have any?
I think BC's gonna be slow because she's on.
So, I just-
BC.
I would say no, because I just ignore everything. Same, but you know, someone was like, "Do you have all the signs of ADHD?" Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, Syracuse.
And they just don't start. Yeah, like everyone. If you look up, you know,
It's all in the mind.
Our first.
It's all in your head, literally.
if you look
Right?
up
Mental problems, it's all in your head.
Go up there on speed.
Walk it off. Yeah. But like, you know, if you look up the signs for ADHD, everyone,
Yes,
oh,
that was a
like,
big
you
storyline for
get
Boston
distracted.
College coming this season. So, and Rachel.
Do you have any,
big transfers
mental health problems?
for Boston College.
so
more of an
I just-
extra, pretty dual
I would say
threat.
no,
They got
because I
the
just
basics
ignore
over
everything.
there.
Same, but you know, someone was like, you have all the signs of ADHD. I'm like,
Yeah, I like that.
Yes. There from go around the stick.
You know,
There's
they
Bill
just-
Smith right on cue early in the game.
Yeah, and I think I said it really on one of our live shows. I think we're going to do tomorrow. I think. Like format. But Bell Smith, I feel like when the season gets when it gets to middle of April and April and into
Yeah,
May,
like,
that's when you really start to that report. But she like comes to life in these big games. She's played in so many. She's played in the national championship game every single year. And has been very instrumental in these.
everyone, if you look up,
they've got to
you know,
have it.
It's all in the mind. It's all in your head, literally.
I think another
you
reason
look
for
up
that
mental
too,
problems, it's all in your head.
obviously in our
Take it
sport, man,
walk it off.
like,
Yeah.
But But like, you know, if you look up the signs for ADHD, everyone, oh, like when you're cleaning up, you can
It's all in the mind. It's all in your head, literally.
if you look
Right?
up,
Mental problem. It's all in your head. Shake it off.
Walk it off.
Yeah.
But like,
I 100% agree with. But we're also getting to actually see multiple replay.
but like, if you look up the signs for ADHD, everyone, oh, like when you're cleaning up, you get distracted. Everyone has, you know, but there is something to it.
You say on stage that you're bipolar.
Yes, but I think everyone's bipolar. Too, that's that. But I am, yeah, somewhat.
And it's like, I wonder,
Like everyone's moody, everyone's bipolar, everyone gets
just a couple
anxiety
shots
sometimes.
on both ends.
To me,
Right. There are things that you do. Like people say you have anxiety, or people say I have anxiety.
Of road games and
Just take a pill for it. But there's probably a million things that you're doing that is giving you
Yeah,
anxiety.
especially
Yeah.
it just takes a couple
How much are
possessions
you lying?
against yourself. A lot of the coaches and people that we've talked to over the
Nervous.
course of the season, everyone seems to be happy.
You're living a lie, Steve. I think anxious people live a lie.
Formula with the
You
best
have anxiety.
stats,
You should live a lie.
and
Like-
I think personally, there's not
Something about you is unsettled. That's why you're so
many different
squirrely.
parts to beating itself.
Figure that out.
Upland
Ask yourself what's really going on. Go for a run. You're
Yeah,
like
defenders not being
Jordy B. Peterson.
gaps.
you watch that stuff? You watch?
Yeah, I like
stuff.
I do. I have dabbled in motivational videos. They never do anything.
Yeah, I think
Like I'll watch like a Kobe Bryant video. That'll get me fired up. But like the guys talking over like a picture of a
Beautiful
waterfall.
opportunity created there.
I don't know.
Award there, maybe a little bit educational. Keep going, but getting up the
I think just looking there, suggestion, they were locking Olivia Addison off a little bit. See if they can be kind of, they started, they did slide off. But something else.
So we're about halfway through the first quarter right now, 1-1. Here's BC looking to push an early offense, see if they can get anything before the QSD gets settled. I think that's something to continue to look at. You know, BC's been one of my favorite transition offenses over the last couple of years. And I think if you want to put up, 12 to 15 goals against the zone, you're going to have to score in other ways than just settled 7v7. So if they can get a couple in transition and blow the game open, I think that's going to be huge for their success and recipe on winning this game.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what you were talking about earlier with working against the zone, I think early on in the game, you really do have to be so patient on offense against the zone in general, but also early on just to see how the zone is moving and to get also everyone to touch, right? Playing in the zone just requires a little bit different skill set, a little bit different focus, and everyone's got to get their feet under them for it to be successful. And I think we had a little audio issue there. I think it should be figured out now at this point, but we should be all good. Let us know if anyone can also comment on the broadcast on our YouTube live if things are fixed. Sorry about that. I couldn't really tell what happened there with that BC goal. So we're 2-1 here, BC. Couple minutes into the first quarter. Kind of what we expected, I would say, to start out here. Want to follow the draw controls, which we were touching to earlier. Want to see BC has been known to face guard. You had a great piece on Jackie Wolak from Notre Dame. She's been face guarded a bunch. I know that piece was a lot of help for a lot of different players and coaches out there. And then just taking a look at the Syracuse zone, see how the BC offense is going to play against it.
Yeah, that was something, Steven, that I thought was really interesting when I was watching Virginia versus Syracuse. Cuse seemed to shut off Morgan Schwab, one of the most dynamic attackers in the game right now, and they still played zone behind it. And then you kind of compare that on the flip side. Boston College, really worked to face guard Jackie Wolak. And, that was what I ended up breaking down, because I thought the way that she handled that face guard, and that was the second time in that week for her, between also playing at Brown and then playing at BC, the way she took that on and set picks on ball, off ball, popped to space, picked it up off the end line, came off of cuts. She really did everything you could do to beat it and counter it and still be really effective. And so I'm gonna actually drop that link in the YouTube for anyone that's watching that hasn't seen that yet.
Yeah, and I think kind of just speaks to the evolution of the women's game. I feel like 10 or so years ago, if there's a face guard, usually that player kind of would stand off to the side or stand behind and be there for backup. But I think there's a lot of new creative ideas and creative offensive coordinators and creative players that are learning how to deal with that face guard and make themselves be very impactful in the offense, whether, like you said, whether it's setting a pick or coming off a cut. And I think obviously Jackie Wolak, super talented player. And usually if you're getting face guard, you're a super talented player. But really loving the evolution and just the creativity that we're seeing out of these offenses.
It makes me think back to a couple of years ago and just unlucky ball kind of kicked into the net there for Boston College, or unlucky for Syracuse, but that puts BC up 2-1, where it seems like besides that, Cuse has really had the momentum so far. But just back to the face guard piece, last thing I'll just mention on it for now, it reminds me a couple of years ago when there was a lot of controversy, if you will, around how Cornell handled Jeff Teat being face guarded. And, at the time, for a couple of those games, they kind of took him out of the offense and put him on the side and let their team play 5-on-5. And in theory, that's great. You make slides longer. It's 5-on-5. And just like in women's, you take out that seventh player. Everyone loves playing 6-on-6. But I think what happens is you just too easily concede giving up your best player, or one of your most valuable players. And so I think there's a lot of other things to try. I'm a bigger proponent now, of utilizing that person for picks, and finding ways to get them the ball, and then them understanding from a mindset perspective that you don't have to score every time you touch it.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're face guarded and when you set that pick, it makes it so that the girl, the teammate that you're picking for, their defender, there's not a switch happening, right? So you can get a very clean step or a clean beat on that dodge, which is why it becomes beneficial. And when Olivia Adamson, she was, I can't tell if it's a face guard yet, but when she was kind of locked off, she had set a pick. I don't know if it was on ball or off ball, but they were able to switch right away. So like I said, we'll see how much of a lock they're doing, or if BC's kind of just testing the waters to see how Syracuse is going to play it.
Impressive stat there on the TV. 26-0. Boston College is following a loss. I think it speaks to, how they regroup after games and how they, create more buy-in. And, big shout out to Acacia Walker-Weinstein, who, again, just got selected as the Team USA women's senior team coach. So big shout out to her. I've really enjoyed getting to know Acacia over the years, have a lot of respect for her. Got to coach against her a couple of games, back in my college coaching days, and, got to catch practice earlier this year, and really runs an incredible program, and it shows in the players they've put out and the success they've had on the field.
We see Emma Ward here operating on that wing. Just speaking to the coaches quick, obviously, Kayla Trainer, been at Syracuse since 2022. She was previously at Boston College, where she won a national championship with BC in 2021. And then shout out also my sister, Abigail Rehfuss. She's on the Syracuse Women staff. She is an assistant coach of Kayla Trainers. So a bunch of great coaching, obviously, on both sides here.
Shout out Coach Rehfuss.
Draw control there won, obviously a little while back there from Kate Mashesky. She won it to herself and did a great job of getting the ball out of her stick right away to Nat Smith. And there we see Emma Tyrell, who we were speaking about earlier, just having an awesome second middle of the season here, and has really been propelling this Syracuse offense. And they're off to a good start here.
Yeah, again, aggressive dodge, confident take by Tyrell. I think, again, like, she can't really get going to the net, but again, gets to the middle of the field where she's going to see the most angle. I think if your scales, you feel like you were in pretty good position there, probably one Dolce would have liked back. But sometimes, like, again, when it comes to placement, sometimes 5 holes, sometimes, these spots that you think would be gobbled up, shots end up squeaking by. So that's a big equalizer there for Syracuse.
Yeah, and you see there was no slide, and no one was even looking to slide on that BC defense, just showing the trust that they do have in Sydney Scales.
I also want to continue to keep an eye on who's covering Emma Ward, because I couldn't catch a number there, but we were just talking about Emma Ward and her island play, and she just went up to the island that last possession and threw every bag of tricks that she had, and she was covered really well. So that might be 25. That might be Becky Browndorf, who did a great job on that. So that's just going to be a matchup that we want to continue to watch, because if she can hold that matchup, BC isn't going to need to send so many slides and help, and support so much like we saw in that first Emma Ward assist.
Yeah, and off that draw there, that's going to be a Syracuse win in the stat book, but that's a BC win. BC does a great job of hunting the ball, trapping these players. They caused a turnover before Syracuse could get settled, and now BC is in their settled offense.
Again, good movement here, good patience by Boston College. They're getting Cuse to collapse.
It's another great feat. I think that's McKenna Davis, number 3. I think she was the biggest snub left off of the Twarton top 25 semifinalists list that came out today. She leads BC in assists, and I believe is 3rd in the country in assists right now. She's really the quarterback for them. She's had 2 really good looks, and I would look for her against this zone. She's super talented, really savvy, great stick, and like I said, a tremendous feeder. So look for her tonight to have a big game.
Yeah, already 2 really nice assist opportunities, like you were talking about. And Steven, I completely agree. I think, we'll talk about it more on the podcast tomorrow, but, just sometimes some of the decision-making and rationale when it comes to Wharton and when it comes to All-American awards, don't always, and there's Ward getting top side.
Wow.
Bang, bang. Just
right
a lot of muscle and power. And you just see, again, like, that's the matchup that we're going to want to, continue to keep eyes on. How does BC support that?
Yeah, and I think both teams are right now, they're trusting that their one-on-one play between Syracuse's offense and BC's defense, right? BC's, they're not sliding. They didn't slide to Emma Tyrell. They're trusting Sydney Scales, and then they're trusting Becky Browndorf here on Emma Ward and not sliding. But then Syracuse is also trusting these Dodgers that they can beat their girls and score. Obviously, Emma Tyrell's a little bit further out, but Emma Ward does a great job getting to the center of the goal there. Not much that Dolce can do about that.
And it's interesting when you think about how Loyola played against Ward. And again, Loyola is a team that I think is going to continue to be primed for a Final Four run. When they were marking her up, they were really using a V-hold technique, which we more commonly see in the men's game. And again, even in that game, Ward did such a good job of throwing behind the back fakes and rocker moves and getting the defender to bite. There, she didn't throw too much of that, but just was able to really turn that corner top side. And again, big draw control here now. Boston College winning that. They've gotten some good opportunities, and hopefully if they can stay confident here with that, they'll, this is an important possession.
Yeah, and speaking earlier about just the BC roster, so you have number 3, McKenna Davis, number 1, Rachel Clark. Rachel Clark, the UVA transfer. I believe she was ACC Rookie of the Year her freshman year. She is a junior now, so she spent 2 years at UVA, and this is her first year at BC. McKenna Davis, I believe she's a junior. as well, right? And along with Emma Lopinto, who's the Florida transfer. So really loaded junior class, and they're playing together for the first time this year. But obviously they're going to get another year together. So look out for BC. No shortage of talent.
Yeah, that 2021 class is, and we'll have to see if we can, and again, another beautiful sidearm feed from Davis. But that 2021 class was one that I actually recruited and is really talented at the attack position. Lopinto, obviously initially committed to Florida, Clark to UVA, and Davis, to Boston College. But again, a lot of great, talent in the class. And, we have to also give a shout out from the attack position to Jill Smith at Michigan, from Michigan, to Wharton top 25 nominee as well, just set the Michigan all-time goals record. So when you think about who's actually starting to produce as this class, comes to maturity, it's deep and it's talented.
Yeah, in Michigan, 3 players on the top 25 to Wharton list today, along with Northwestern and Boston College. BC's getting some looks here. They're getting contested shots closer, and I think Syracuse is doing a good job, but BC is starting to do a great job moving the ball.
Yeah, they're moving it. I think this really speaks to the impact of Delaney Schweitzer. She takes up a lot of net. She's active. She's athletic in cage, and she's confident, so when players are catching on the doorstep and they're tight to the crease, they really have to be poised, and take that extra step around or extend the stick. And they haven't done that as much so far besides that first Bell Smith goal. So just as a shooter here, I think, or an offensive coach, you're telling your shooters, hey, we're getting good looks. Keep going, keep pushing, keep firing, because you're getting the opportunities and you just got to cash in.
Yeah, and both Schweitzer and Dolce, both really talented goalies. I think they were definitely on preseason All-American lists. Right now, they were not listed on either one of them was listed on the midseason All-American list, but I think they're still both having great years. They're both great anchors for these teams. They've both been battle tested. They've played in Final Fours. They've played in big games like the one we're watching right now. And Schweitzer, especially right now, off to a hot start.
I would love to see, in my kind of just, dawned on my mind, because I think you had, and there's Schweitzer gobbling that up, and a really nice job by the Cuse defense to get under Davis there.
Yeah.
So that really affects her follow through on her shot. But I would love to see a comparison between men's goalies and women's goalies and what the expected percentages should be, because I think both of these goalies are low 40%. Or mid 40% on the season. But the fact of the matter is that majority of the shots they're shooting are 7 yards and in.
Yeah.
So it just it's such a different reaction time, than it is compared to the men's game. And the reason I just say that is because my brain growing up in the men's game is just triggered on, okay, if a goalie's 55% or more, they're legit.
Yeah.
It's just lower, I think, inherently, 5%, 10% for the women's game. So just something that maybe our friends at Goalie Smith can shed some light on at some point.
Yeah, definitely looking at statistics, I believe on the year, Schweitzer for Syracuse, she's at 41%, and Shea Dolce for BC, she's at 46%. I believe Schweitzer came into this year and ended last year as a first team All-American. And I think she still is up there and still very capable, and has been playing very well along with the rest of the Syracuse team in the last 8 games or so since they've been on that winning streak. One thing I wanted to point out earlier on, so both these teams coming into it, they are both 12-3. Syracuse is ranked number 2 in the country, and Boston College is ranked number 6 to the country. Just some interesting things that I noticed. Both of these teams have a loss to Northwestern on their record. They each lost to Northwestern by 3 goals. Outside of that, they each have the other 2 losses, and all of those losses combined, or all of those losses separately, were all by 1 goal. Syracuse, their other 2 losses to Maryland and to Stony Brook were both in overtime. And then Boston College lost to Notre Dame and UVA by 1, with UVA being in overtime. So eerily similar records, and it's surprising, but it's not, just with the talent and with the history that these 2 programs do have. But something I wanted to point out, just how these seasons have unfolded and kind of where we are today.
We're definitely seeing more parity in the ACC, and obviously Northwestern holds wins over both of these teams. Northwestern's competing with Michigan on Sunday for the share of the Big Ten title, and in their conference, Penn State's had 2 big upset wins, over Northwestern and Maryland. So just again, these teams are neck and neck. And, again, now we're kind of seeing on the screen some of the highlights from last year, in the semis. Just again, like these games go back and forth, and their games are runs, their momentum, players stepping up and making plays. And, this game is going to be no different.
Yeah, in both these games last year, I think the storyline after both games were over where Syracuse got off to really hot starts and they had a commanding lead. I know the second game we're seeing there, 8-7. It was a more lower scoring game, but Syracuse did have the lead. But BC, they have fight in them, and they're never going to quit, and they were able to claw their way back into both games. And looking at BC, they have been in the national title game, I believe, since 2017. They've been in it every single year. So they are going for this year would be their 8th straight appearance in the final game. So everyone on BC's roster that is not a freshman has played in at least 1 national championship game. And then players like Bell Smith and Sydney Scales, they've played in 3 national championship games every chance that they had. So very, very impressive what Acacia Walker has built here.
Yeah, it really speaks to, the consistency, and what they've been building. And I think, doing that 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, incredibly impressive, in their own rights. But the way the game's evolved and grown on the men's and the women's side, when you have these kind of runs, it's even more impressive, I think. So, again, to have the consistency and be in these back-to-back-to-back title games is huge, and, there's really not much saying or doubt that they can't do it again, and be right there in the mix for another finals, and so it's exciting. It's exciting to watch, and creates for a lot of great lacrosse these next 6 weeks.
Yeah. Second quarter unfolding here. I don't know what the violation was there. It looked like Kate Machescu for Syracuse had won it, but the ball is awarded to Boston College. So we'll see if Syracuse or if BC, if either of these coaching staffs change anything from quarter to quarter, if they'll wait till half to make adjustments. Like I said, I keep talking about the face guard. We see a turnover there or a change of possession. We're going to see
really nice
Syracuse with the ball.
Job by the Cuse defense drawing the charge there on Belle Smith. She got position and she kept driving. And, I do think the charge sometimes just fails to get called in general. And she kept holding her ground, and finally they gave it to her. And then again, they cough it right back up. So it's BC coming down the other way.
Yeah, I didn't see who took the charge. I would guess it would be Katie Goodale. She's fantastic at it. She's a midseason first-team All-American for Syracuse. Senior, has just had a great career, and really, I think
that's going to be a green. Let's see,
huge player for Syracuse, just top to bottom, very talented. So I think we're going to get our first look at, I don't know if this will be a green or a yellow, but we'll most likely get our first look at the BC man up, which will be our first man up of the game tonight. Well, it looks like Tyrell is still in.
We'll just give a quick note here. As we see if there's a card awarded, it does not look like it, which is very surprising to me.
Yeah.
I think that's a big time missed call based on the new rules and just in general. She didn't just fall on her own, but nonetheless, if you're tuning in, we'd love to hear from you. If you've got questions, please drop them in the chat. We'll try to address them and share some thoughts as we watch the game. So really appreciate you all tuning in. So feel free to drop them in, and excited to have you all as we do our first women's game cast here. We did it for the Duke Syracuse men's game a couple weeks back. And now we're here for a big ACC matchup, Syracuse versus Boston College.
I think interesting when you talk about it, if a card should have been awarded there, it does always feel like in these big time games, whether they're ACC or tournament games, that the refs can sometimes ref the game a little bit differently than, say, if it's a different conference or an early season game. And I don't really have an opinion one way or another on it. I like to see fewer calls. I think it's just better for the game and better for the viewers and better for the players. I like to see the physicality, but it can also be tough if it's not uniform across the way. And we see a great hustle play there by Syracuse. Great Olivia Adamson goal off the feed from Emma Munchik, the Maryland transfer. We are at 4-2 Syracuse with 12:26 in the second quarter right now.
I will disagree with you a little bit, where I am all for the physicality as well, but not when it's not consistent. It makes it really hard to coach. It makes it really hard to referee and even to learn the game as a fan. It needs to be consistent. And I got into this beef last week or a couple weeks ago when it came to the UConn pick.
Yeah.
On ball and
Saw your tweet about
the
it.
women's, was it the Final Four?
Yeah.
And this whole notion of 1 minute on the clock and we have to call the game differently to just let them play is total bullshit.
Yeah, and you can't do that. And that's why it has to be uniform across the way. So if it's like, all right, for the NCAA tournament, we're going to make it so that we are going to be more lenient and let the players do more. Sure, that's great. But if you're in the Final Four and the first game is called really tight and the second game is called loosely, like, that's not fair. And I think I'm always easy on refs. I think refs have a tough job. I don't know necessarily who would want to be a ref. I personally would never and could never be one. So I kind of always have that in the back of my mind. They have a really tough job. They have a lot to see. And I think they get ridiculed regardless. There's always going to be some coach or some team or some fan that's upset with them. So it's kind of a no-win situation for them, especially I feel like in a sport like lacrosse, when there can be some ticky-tacky stuff and it can just be difficult.
Yeah, and it's difficult, and you have to also realize, and even when I was getting into those arguments on Twitter when it came to the basketball, like, how many people did not even know what the rules are?
Yeah.
So if that's basketball, like, you can only imagine in men's and women's right now, like, people are so confused. You have coaches out there calling for moving picks. Ooh, Schweitzer took a pop to the chin there.
Yeah.
Little cross check. And again, that's probably not going to be a card. If that might be a missed call.
That's got to be a card. I think they got her there. At first, I thought that she just took like a stick head, it was a mischeck, but that was a cross check. She took the shaft actually.
Yeah.
Right to her mouth. Just a tough play there. Not malicious by the BC player, not on purpose, but
yeah,
got to call that.
And just, again, like, the refs get a lot of scrutiny and most people don't know the rules, for being completely honest. And last week, just give a shout out to one of our Circle community members. So, in December, we started our first, coaching resource out there. And one of our members is a female referee in the Connecticut area. And she was really talking about a lot of the challenges of being a referee and the rules and people not understanding the rules. And I thought it was just really enlightening, and I really appreciated her perspective. We had our women's coaches roundtable and learned a lot from each other and from her. And so, if you're a coach out there and you haven't joined us yet on Circle, definitely something to check out.
Yeah, that was awesome. And we're at 10:49 in the second quarter. We're seeing Syracuse on the min up. They got a good look at the start off the feed from Olivia Adamson to Emma Tyrell, but it looked like either Dolce made a great save or Tyrell hit the post. But BC just causes a turnover there on the min up. BC's got to be happy with that. I don't think the same thing for Syracuse. We're getting another look at this shot. Yeah, Emma Tyrell right off the post. She put it off stick hip. Great placement. Just that happens.
Great job by BC too on that feed to Schweitzer. It's one of those where you pass down and backdoor cut, and you think you can kind of just get that little give and go. And what the feeder didn't see there was that second BC defender on the backside rotating over and collapsing and closing that window. So again, like you said, really nice job by BC to hold Cuse there, to keep this lead or deficit at 2 goals. And, now they're just going to try to kill the clock for maybe another 10, 15 seconds. Looks like the card just released. 30 seconds left on the shot clock, and now BC has to get into their offense.
We're getting a good look here. We got about almost 15 seconds left. Goal there by BC lefty. I think Schweitzer might want that one back. Looked like, honestly, BC wasn't very settled in their offense. I don't know if that's the exact look that they wanted, but I think they're happy to walk away with a goal there. Shortened possession because of the player up that Syracuse had, so they were killing that for a while. But good take there, I believe, by Cassidy Weeks. Just recognizes that Bell Smith is covered and sneaks under Bell Smith's defender to finish a nice lefty shot. I feel like Cassidy Weeks, another player that's been at BC for a while and has just been making really impressive plays her entire career. Especially, I remember her last year in the Final Four against Syracuse.
Yeah, she's been another just, blue collar work ethic type of kid, for the program, who, again, for years now has just made gritty plays. And, that one was within 15 seconds left of the shot clock expiring. Kind of looked like the roving defender might have been in shooting space as she kind of slid off. And she actually, I think, ended up screening Schweitzer, on the shot. So really nice bounce shot, using, the skip off the turf near side low. And, again, back to the point about zone defense, like, you're not drawing that one up as an offensive coach, but these are the games that players just have to, hey, read a defender pressing too far out and then knife through that gap and not be afraid to shoot it.
Yeah, players making plays in games like this with talent like this and the stakes like this, players are going to make plays and players have to make plays. So we see a Syracuse, they won this draw control. Great pass there by Schweitzer. I love when she outlets the ball really far. I think maybe coaches across the board don't want to see their goalie bombing the ball downfield, but it's always exciting to watch as a fan.
I was fortunate to coach Delaney and Savannah at USC, I believe, for 2 years, and then they transferred, and that was my last year at USC, 2021. But again, they're big time players, and both have made a great impact on the Cuse program.
Goal there by Syracuse's Nat Smith with 8:35 left in the second. She's had a great year. So fast, so athletic, really strong righty shot. I think she does a great job of usually going down the right alley, but we see a nice wind up and face dodge there and brings herself back to the middle, finishes right in front of the cage. Great play for there and just a great year that Nat Smith's been having. I believe she's a senior right now for Syracuse and saving her best lacrosse of her career for her final year with the Orange.
It is interesting when you look at the point production of the Cuse offense. You got, Tyrell and Adamson leading the team at 62 points apiece. Emma Ward right there at 55. All three shooting, 45% above, with Tyrell and Adamson, above 50%. Then you got, again, Natalie Smith, 31 goals, in 14 games. You've got Rowley, Baxter, all 30 points plus. And then you got Savannah Schweitzer there with 21. And Emma Muchnick is, continuing to make a push. So, again, really nice distribution of scoring for Cuse. They don't have one player that they have to go through, on any given day. In my opinion, they all are continuing to work to build that cohesion, and different players can step up at any time.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing that even across. You look at BC, they don't have the one player that has to get the ball. Even I feel like people would be quick to say that Northwestern, they obviously have Izzy Skane, but between Aaron Kuykendall and Madison Taylor, they have 3 attackers that are on the Twarton top 25 that could easily all be finalists. So you're seeing just a lot of talent across the board and speaks to the growth. As BC causes a turnover there, they're clearing the ball here. We got 7:45 or so left in the second quarter, and BC is going to have possession here.
That was a beautiful rotation there by sophomore midfielder Shea Baker from Ithaca, New York. you can see, when BC sends those double teams, like we talked about early, those second slides are ready to fire and rotate. And she did an incredible job there, the sophomore, rotating, getting that knockdown, pushing transition. She was someone who was recruited as a midfielder, might be playing a little more defense for Boston College this year. So, but again, her being able to push the break and play fast and get a beautiful shot, and now BC's into settled offense, like that's again an X factor for them, when you're making a tournament run.
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing BC send some cutters through the middle. They've had success finding one here and there, especially when McKenna Davis has been carrying it on this low left wing. Not
That's
sure
an
what the
illegal
call
screen.
was there.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, it's unfortunate for BC. Like maybe Lapinto was trying to get out of the way, but completely blows up Goodale there. And, just in the way, illegal pick, no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah, and kind of blindsided as well, right? And I think in the women's game, they're always going to call that.
And that's, again, like one of the important clarifications on the rules is that a moving pick is not technically illegal in the women's game. It's about giving time and space, and that's a charge call going the other way on Baxter. It's about giving time and space so that the defender can like read and react, and we kind of saw there that was the opposite of what just happened with that, that contact, that bang, bang play. And you can really see, like, while they are playing physical and physical plays are being made right now, like the refs are on top of it, and they're not, just allowing bodies to fly around the field because they're just making simultaneous contact.
Yeah, and I'm loving the pace of this game. We're seeing BC with the ball here with 5:44 left in the second. I think maybe the coaches aren't the happiest with the pace in the sense of there have been some turnovers or some sloppy play. But I think as a fan and as a player, when you're in these big games, I think you can take a little bit more risk if you're an offensive player and you see someone inside and you might be jamming a feed. Like, that you're probably going to be getting the ball back. I think the women's game has obviously picked up a lot with the shot clock, but especially when you have two really high-powered and athletic teams, I think you see the ball go back and forth a lot, which is just exciting game to play in and an exciting game to watch. BC is probably looking for Rachel Clark to get a little bit more involved here. She just had a top-down feed, but I think they want to find her in the middle more, right? She's taking a look at the stats that she has on the year for BC. She has 55 goals and 12 assists, so she's their primary finisher, whereas McKenna Davis, who we've been speaking to, has 14 goals and 47 assists. So look for McKenna Davis to definitely be looking for Rachel Clark in the middle.
There's Weeks off the 8-meter, just pulls it wide. Lapinto is going to bring it in off the end line. I Stephen, would like to see a little more carries and throwbacks, from BC. Drag, throwback, look inside, send first cutter, send second cutter. I think they're starting to get more of that movement. I think you're also, just with the pressure that Cuse is willing to provide on D, when they're going from elbow to elbow across the top, in my opinion, they're getting pushed so wide where your only option is to feed top down.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have low defenders filling up and you're trying to catch from high, you turn and look to fire. And that's when you just get caught a lot trying to shoot around defenders.
Yeah.
So I don't love the looks that you generate in a zone when you're feeding top down.
Yeah. Really difficult for who's supposed to be the finisher, the person catching the ball, really difficult to catch it while facing upfield and turn with that pressure on them, which I know I keep bringing her name up, McKenna Davis, but I think if they can get the ball more to her and Lopinto just on these lower left and right wings, kind of at X, but a little bit further to the side, I think that's a really optimal place for cutters to be cutting to them so that when they get the ball, they're facing the goal. And Syracuse is going to work and going to do a great job to shut that off, as we just see there, as Rachel Clark was trying to cut through the middle. I know there was short time, but look for BC to maybe look to do that a little bit more. But obviously, I think Syracuse is going to be aware of that and do their best to cut those lanes off. Syracuse again, that's the second long clear that they've had.
Another charge.
Yeah, I think that's Maddie Baxter. I believe her third charge of the game. She's a really fast, athletic midi, and sometimes I feel like gets caught just going downhill, and it might be a little bit of the scout on her. I think she's had a couple of games with multiple charges this year. So I think that's a correction that she'll definitely make it happen, and I'm sure the coaches will speak with her. But we got Boston College back with the ball here on offense. Syracuse up 5-3, 3 minutes and 46 seconds left in this second quarter here.
And let's also give another shout out to Shea Baker. That's her second cause turnover of the quarter. And, she's making her presence felt.
There we see kind of that feed we were just speaking to. Lopinto feeding from bottom right into Clark. Schweitzer, great save inside. And we see Nat Smith clearing the ball here. BC doing a good job of stopping transition, not letting Syracuse get too much and also not letting Syracuse kind of get into that early offense. BC does commit a foul here. So we see Peyton Rally here, number 6. I think she's been actually having a great year. This is definitely the most meaningful minutes she's had in her career. But she's had some big games and has really come up big for Syracuse on that low left side.
Let's see what Cuse looks to run here out of more of a set play here. Here's Tyrell from that high wing and Browndorf. Again, good switch by BC. They're ready to rotate. Schweitzer's coming off the elbow. Slide comes early.
Yeah, it looks like BC's coming earlier right now. We'll see how this matchup is with Emma Ward, but it looks like they're still looking to come early. So it looks like they made a little bit of an adjustment there. Obviously, we saw early on they weren't looking to slide as fast. Oh, great face dodge there, but better save by Shea Dolce.
Rob's doorstep robbery there by Dolce. Again, I think that was Muchnick.
Yep.
Really nice wind up and tuck, beautiful face dodge. And then again,
even good placement.
A flair for the dramatic. Again, nice placement. She held her high, just Dolce exploding low inside.
Got to tip your cap to that save there. Not much else you could do as a feeder, as a finisher, putting the ball off stick low. Felt like that was one of the more settled possessions that Syracuse has gotten in this second quarter. I was talking about the pace earlier, but been a very up and down game here. Nice pickoff there by Benoit. I don't think that's the best look that BC could have generated, especially with the time they had left in the shot clock. McKenna Davis with kind of a little bit far skip pass, but Benoit, she is a highly rated defender from Darien, Connecticut. She's a freshman. She's been having a phenomenal year. Definitely one of Syracuse's best defenders. And she's also been huge in the clear. I think that's the 3rd or 4th time I've seen her over the line in the offensive end.
Yeah, she's an incredible athlete. Last year, I coached at St. Paul's the last 2 seasons, and we played Darien at US Lacrosse. And to see her and Natalie Shirtliff battle was really fun to watch. Natalie ended up being the number 2 recruit. She's a freshman at Clemson, doing it all down there for the Tigers. And Benoit, again, incredible athlete, 1v1 defender. They really matched up well.
We're seeing BC apply some higher pressure, and they're sending these early slides that we were alluding to earlier. I think trying to get Syracuse out of their zone and just cause havoc, which I think BC is so good at doing. They're so athletic on defense, and their patented man defense that they run.
They're doing a great job of it. I will give kudos to Cuse. They're handling it well. They're finding skip lanes. It's just you have to continue to do it and make sure you're stepping in to be a threat. When you find that skip pass, you have to be ready to hitch. We saw them take advantage of that the last time. They just didn't cash in. But again, you have to play fast, but you can't play in a hurry. You have to be poised. You have to be expecting the double team. I also think if they can shorten up some of those outlets because the slides are coming so quick, that will allow them to kind of bait that slide, like kind of dodge, but not dodge that hard, knowing that they're just going to send the slide and then you have to hit quick outlets. move it twice, and then, look inside, type of deal to attack the recoveries.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of that, and I speak to it a lot when coaching players, is just the body language that you have when you're carrying the ball, right? So if you have the ball and the defender's applying high pressure, if you look nervous or like you're retreating, that's going to just give that defender more confidence to be pressing out on you, and maybe for them to send a double and think that they can trap you. But if you're in that attacking position and have that attacking mindset where you're not nervous with the ball, I think that can also cause the defense to then back up and be like, all right, this player knows what they're doing. I'm not just going to have an easy takeaway here. So just being mindful of that when BC's applying that high pressure. Not sure what this review is right now. About 8 seconds left in the first half here. Syracuse up 5-3. It's been reviewed. I think Syracuse should have the ball behind at X. I might be looking at the clock. We don't have the audio up in here. We have the game on some monitors that we're looking at. I know people have asked if we could get the game on the TV or if we could kind of be talking while having the game. There's just some copyright issues with ESPN. So if anyone could be helpful with us there, that would be great.
Yeah, tweet about how legit this is and that ESPN should pick up the game cast with us as hosts, of course.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Can't wait, Steven. I got this Browndorf Island defense teed up for a breakdown. Check out our first StreamYard breakdown coming up soon. 8 seconds left. What are you running off the end line? You just did a webinar this week. What's quiz time? What do you got here for us?
I did a men's offensive webinar, so it's different with 6 players.
So
but
you're saying you can't coach the women up here out of the timeout?
I would clear aside, and I would either do kind of a fish hook look with kind of just 2 men having a feeder from X and a girl going inside and fish hooking back for the ball. But like I said, clearing the side so there can be no top down slide. Or I might throw a pick in there, have a player come off a pick and maybe not necessarily have the play be for the girl coming off the pick, but maybe have the picker be slipping afterwards. But got to see if we can get the feeder with their hands free. And really those plays, a lot of the times people think that the huge focus is on ball and what the people are doing that are going to score. But a lot of the time it's really off ball and spacing and making sure that the players have space to create that play.
I might go myself with a classic Maryland pick slip look. Where kind of right at the top of the 8, cutting down each pipe. Got a lefty cutting to the ball. Pick slip. Oh, no cutters. ISO. Outside.
Oh, mom goal.
I think they were really late there on the clock starting.
Yeah.
They really blew that one. So much for home cooking.
All right. That is the end of the first half. We are at 5-3. Syracuse is up. Definitely great half so far. Very up and down on both sides. I think taking a look at the stats here, we have, let me bring these up quick. We got on Syracuse's side, Emma Ward, 1 goal, 1 assist, Olivia Adamson, 2 goals, Nat Smith, 1 goal, Emma Tyrell, 1 goal, and Emma Munchik with 1 assist. Emma Munchik almost had that goal, but Shea Dolce with a phenomenal save. On BC's side, Cassidy Weeks, 1 goal, Molly Driscoll, 1 goal, and then Emma Lapinto, 1 assist, and Belle Smith with 1 goal. And then taking a look at the goalies, because I feel like we've had a ton of saves, especially on the Syracuse side. 8 saves so far for Delaney Schweitzer, 73%. And then on the other side, Shea Dolce with only recorded as 2 saves and at 29%. I feel like she's had more. A couple of those maybe could have been Syracuse off the pipe, but I do think Dolce's also been playing great. And like I was just saying with the Munchnik shot, she definitely still won there.
Yeah, she's made her presence felt. And I think both goalies are starting to get into a rhythm. Certainly an up and down game. And, a lot of different plays to be made. I think it's going to be an explosive second half. Both teams have had great looks on the doorstep. This game from 5-3 could easily be, an 8-6 type of game. I think BC has a couple that they would have liked back early, and we're excited for the second half.
taking a look right now, and just kind of rehashing and thinking about that first half, what do you think either one of these teams, either one of these offenses, anything standing out to you on either the BC offense or Syracuse offensive side? I think honestly that second quarter I didn't feel like Syracuse had many set possessions. I think we were talking earlier about what we were looking for out of BC's offense. Syracuse there, I didn't feel like they had a lot of chances to get set up, and I think that's a credit also to BC.
I think Cuse has done a really good job with their 1v1 matchups, and it certainly caused BC to respond by sending a lot of rotations. They had a couple early turnovers, couple charge calls, couple turnovers in transition, type of, possessions where they haven't given themselves a chance to widen this gap. If they can play with a little more poise and clean some of that up, I think they're going to, continue to get in a groove and put pressure on the BC defense. I think BC still hasn't really found a go-to for producing consistent, settled offense. I think they need to get early offense going. I think if they can get a juice goal in transition and look to push more and unsettled, I think that's going to be an opportunity for them to manufacture some points. And if they do get more woman up opportunities, they need to cash in.
Definitely. And I think, like we were alluding to, like I was saying with Rachel Clark, she's shooting at a really high percentage on the season. I believe she's at 63%, which is definitely has to be up there in terms of Division I leaders. Right now, she doesn't have a point, and neither does McKenna Davis. We've been talking about them a bunch, and they've been having those looks, but I really think that they're going to try and get them going. So whether that's putting the ball in McKenna's stick on that low left and maybe have Clark either come off picks or be cutting in some different areas. I feel like we've seen her, or at least I've noticed her at the ball with the ball at like the top of the 8 at the 12 per se. And I think she's looking for those lanes. She had a couple, but I think they'll do a good job of adjusting at halftime and looking to get those two much more involved because they are the drivers of their offense.
I would like to see McKenna catch the ball off of an initiation, because I think against the zone, that you're going to draw some sort of double team and then move it. If they can do that with someone else, get it to Davis. Davis is your best feeder. She's created 3 assist opportunities on the doorstep by my count, if not more, that haven't been finished. So I think they have to keep leaning into that. You have to trust your righty scorers. You've got some of the best ones in the country. They're going to put the ball in the back of the net, continue to hone in there. Don't hit the panic button because you're getting looks, right? I think that's, again, like you could look, hey, you're down 2. Like sometimes like you just got to keep firing. And I think that's something that if they can lean into that, get a couple more possessions their way, tighten up more on D, that's going to be their recipe to, get a 1 or 2 goal lead sometime in the third quarter.
Yeah, and I think taking a look at Syracuse, I think they can't be too happy with that second quarter. They had chances to have settled offensive possessions, but we saw a couple different Maddie Baxter charges, a couple different shots that hit the pipe, or just some great saves by Dolce. I think they need to definitely possess the ball a little bit more, not in terms of holding it, but you just can't commit those errors that aren't a Dolce great save, or you can't be throwing the ball out of bounds and you can't be committing fouls, offensive fouls with those charges. So I think they're going to look to take care of it, but finding that balance of not sitting on the ball too much and still going, but being responsible.
So let's see how we can bring this clip up to break down here. I'm going to click on present.
Yep, you should do present. And then if you click share screen, does anything pop up for you there?
I got some tips. Is it going to make me share my whole screen?
Let's
see.
It should give you a window.
Nice little window opportunity. Yeah. All right, let's see what we got here.
So let me add this to the stage. All right, there we go.
Oh, we're on stage.
Yep.
All right, so let's just take a look. We're going to do this breakdown live. So this is what we were talking about, Emma Ward driving up to the island. And this was early in the game. Becky Browndorf doing a great job of containing Ward on the dodge. You can see, again, she applies pressure below goal line, right? So that she's not waiting for her to attack her at goal line. She's approaching back. Obviously, for high school defenders, like, she's got free movement through the crease. She makes the contact. Again, I love how Ward's leaning in and creating contact as well. So it's really a two-sided, two sides to the coin here. And then when she gets up to that island, we were talking about how she's done it before, like a little rocker, BTB fake,
BTB.
right? And she doesn't bite. And then she sits, drives her back down the alley, and then again, beautiful defense. We don't have the clip handy right now, but Ward takes advantage to the top side the next time around. But again, BC, I think, should be confident in continuing to try to contain Dodgers. Everyone's going to score a couple unassisted, right? You're not going to shut everyone out.
I would love to see more of this matchup. If BC goes back to not sliding so much, I think they were sliding there more at the end of the second. But if they're going to be slow play, like I was saying earlier, I love when Emma Ward comes up from X and dodges on this swing. I do like the spacing a lot here from Syracuse's offense, providing Emma Ward with the ability to come up and work on the island without really the threat of anyone coming to her. I think she did a good job on her goal of kind of getting to that 5-5 and turning the corner there, not getting too high so that none of the BC defenders could help down in time. But then also just looking at Schweitzer there behind the cage, she does a good job of starting above the cage, but then she makes her way back to be an outlet. So if Emma Ward has to turn around, she has a place to put the ball other than just shooting it, so it doesn't go to a turnover. I think watching BC play, I think they love if they can get players to take bad shots or to trap them. And I think it's going to be huge for Syracuse here to continue to have outlets both in front and behind the ball so that they're not committing any costly turnovers.
Yeah, well said. I want to see if
I love that we could just pull that up there.
Whoop that up. Maybe we'll pull up the Twitter feed too. Let's see if we got anything cooking there. So we'll go present, screen window. Now we see BC Twitter.
Yep.
Let's see if we have any refreshed highlight clips. So let's take a look. Does this take up the screen if I...
It says click to exit full screen. Maybe try. Can you go back before you click full screen and just maybe double tap to enlarge? Do you know what I mean? Like zooming in. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be possible.
Like this?
Yeah, if there's any way you can zoom in just on your page as a whole, but I don't know if you're able to, but it's a little bit far away. The window itself is, I don't know why it doesn't let us go full screen there. But I think off that goal, if what I'm seeing is correctly, that's one of those feeds that's coming from Lo Pinto down low to Bell Smith coming down.
Yep.
So not a top down feed. I guess it would be, I don't know the exact wording for it, but feeding from X to that cutter coming to the ball and to the goal is what BC definitely needs to be looking for.
Yeah, I wish I could really zoom in here. We just kind of seeing the Emma Ward top side move as well. So anyways, we're excited here for the second half. A lot of great lacrosse to be played. I'm joined by Stephen Rehfuss. This is our second FCL Gamecast. For any of you that are just joining, we're excited to be here. Big ACC matchup. Syracuse has already clinched the ACC regular season. This will have some impact on the seedings as BC is still hopeful to get that 2 seed. It's been a battle. These teams are storied, and this rivalry is a storied one over the last 5 to 8 years.
Yeah. Taking a look right now at just some stats. So Syracuse has 13 shots. BC has 14. Taking a look at the ground ball battle, BC is up in the ground ball battle 11-2. And then Syracuse is up in the save battle 8-2. Both teams are doing a good job clearing the ball, and I've been noticing that Syracuse is 10 for 10 on clears, and BC is 9 for 10. I think both programs, both coaching staffs have to be happy about that. Definitely want to keep an eye on the draw here, and I think Kate Machewski's done a really good job of handling that pressure, and the girls on the circle have been doing a really good job of getting open for her, so that she's able to get the ball to them quickly so that BC can't trap. But we'll be watching for this in a second. Really excited to see what adjustments they make as we get this thing rolling. We're about to face off. Draw one there by BC, Cassidy Weeks. She was on the draw circle. Syracuse is going to look to trap here. Looks like a foul. I don't know if we'll get a green. We got some goggles off. I think we definitely might have a man up here.
Yeah, that's going to be a push all day, any day, every day, Sundays as well.
You don't want to start a quarter like that or a half. You just had the time to kind of recoup. You don't want to give BC man up, and you don't want to commit just ticky-tack fouls, especially she wasn't in a threatening position to score. Can't foul there.
What's up with these score bugs not having the time left in the play?
I don't know.
That's a huge miss.
Yeah.
Not to be a downer here, but that's a big miss, especially for, those who are trying to do a game cast and not have the TV sound on.
Exactly.
Do we have the ability to go sound up, sound down?
I'm not sure. I don't know if on these monitors we could get it. Let me play around with it.
Maybe on the
it looks like the sound is up, but I don't think it would be coming through here. Shout out to Dan Nathan and Risk Reversal Media. We are using his studio in Chelsea, Manhattan. I used to work for Dan. He's been awesome and great to me and great to us now. And this is our second time in here, and he's been super helpful with a lot of things. As we see BC score there, a bit of a contested goal, but great job. It's going to be 5-4 Syracuse.
Sweet.
Looks like we got a remote here. Thank you. Great. Thank you.
Big goal for BC there. And I will also chime in. I've got the On the Tape podcast Yeti mug that Dan gave me a couple weeks ago. And really appreciate being in the studio. Great finish by Weeks.
And I think we're seeing more of this just across Man Up. I think man up has been a huge discussion this year in women's lacrosse, right? With the green card, teams are getting more man ups than ever before. And I don't think a lot of teams are capitalizing on them as much as people thought, right? So if you're going into the season, you're like, wow, there's going to be so many men ups, so many calls. Like we're going to be scoring a lot of goals on this. But I think it's tough, right? Just because you get 8 man ups in a game doesn't mean you should be scoring on 6 or 7 of them, right? The defense has more time to prepare, more time to get comfortable. The offense can only have so many sets. I think you're seeing it with Loyola Women a lot. A lot of them are almost dodging on man up. I know on our circle community, we will have webinars with different college coaches, and we had Sean Kerwin on, the former UVA offensive coordinator and Dartmouth head coach. Now he's in his first year there. And I watched his one with you, and he was talking about how people have been talking about dodging on man up for years, but he's not going to be the first one to try it. And I don't blame him, but I think Loyola, not that they're always looking to dodge it, but they're dodging it more often, I think, than kind of anyone else. And I think Jen Adams has always been known to push the game forward. And we saw a nice face dodge there from, I think, BC, not as much of a dodge, was just kind of how the play unfolded, but interesting to watch. And if the rules continue to stay the same, which who knows if they will with how rules in lacrosse are in general, but how man up evolves in the next couple of years.
Well, let's just also think about it for a second. Getting a 10-yard uncontested step down in the men's game is like awesome when you've got a stretch shooter. In the women's game, that's not that high percentage.
Yeah.
So to just kind of like drag and throw back and keep it on the perimeter and and then just step down and rip, that's not a good look. So, and also you're talking about, you're not going from 6 to 5. You're going from 7 to 6, and the defense doesn't have to get out as far.
Yeah.
Because you have 5 defenders who have to extend and respect shooters at 14 yards, that opens up more openings to just kind of move it and dump it, So I think that those nuances are interesting. And so maybe these coaches, as you think about it, you're just dodging with a player up and the recoveries are going to be so jacked up, and so that might just create layups as opposed to just kind of, staying in a shell and just trying to jam it in when the defense can just collapse.
Yeah. See a stop there by Syracuse. Another great Delaney Schweitzer clear to Casey Benoit over the line. Another just really long outlet pass. And each time it's been opposite box side. So in the other quarters, in the second quarter, we were seeing on the opposite side of the field, and now seeing the same thing. So they're definitely going to look to continue that. I would think BC is going to start to notice that and maybe try and shut Benoit off here. I know last year in the Final Four, BC was able to cause some turnovers in the clear and in the ride, later in the game. So good storyline to watch.
Really nice defense there by Boston College. That sets quick slide as well as an aggressive check on the bottom hand. And then that causes that miscue on the pass for Syracuse. And, big loose ball. Here's Scales.
Looks like we might have a timeout. I think BC timeout. I wasn't able to catch what happened there on the last Syracuse possession. Don't know if we can get the sound. I was turning it on. I don't know if that will turn it off or not. We're learning as we go here. We have 2 monitors opposite of us. They're not computers, but I wouldn't say they're TVs either, but we're able to watch the game kind of straight in front of both of us. And we're just trying to see if we can get just some noise here. I think Syracuse needs to regroup. I don't think that's how they want to start the second half, just from a foul perspective and just a couple turnovers. And I think BC looked like they were going more on that last possession, having that ball at X, and looking for a couple different feeds from behind into a cutting player. So we'll see there. All right, so we're back here. We got the stream back on, showing us the Torton Award top 25 nominees. We have 2 from Syracuse with Katie Goodale and Emma Tyrell, and 3 for BC with Rachel Clark, Sydney Scales, and Belle Smith. BC, one of 3 programs with 3 total players on the top 25 list, with Northwestern and Michigan, 2 teams within the Big Ten. Really strong year for the Big Ten here. And shout out to Deemer's sister. She's on Michigan. They've been having a great year, and they're obviously really well coached, and I think have been making a lot of noise for a while here. They're coming on strong this year. So getting this game back up and going, 10:55 left in the third.
What do you think makes Goodale so special for the Cuse defense? What kind of role have you seen her play this year?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think she's really smart. What I was alluding to earlier, she's taking a lot of charges. She's always been known for that. Really fills areas well and times things well. And then her aggression. She's so aggressive, top to bottom across the field. I think she's really tough to play against. And then really just gritty, like in between the lines, getting draw controls, getting ground balls. She's one of those players, like similar to a Belle Smith. Their presence is just felt kind of everywhere that they are. They feel like they're almost just a step ahead of everyone athleticism wise. But she's been great and had a great career.
And there's Boston College telling us to kick rocks with the top down feed. Martello handles it inside. Really nice look from Rachel Clark. And again, what I think she does so well there, though, is she handles that pressure and that fill up handles the contact on the hip. She shoots around. She avoids the dangerous propel. Beautiful placement there by Martello, being able to handle that ball inside.
Yeah, and she does a really good job at keeping her feet moving. When she catches that ball, she doesn't just stop. If she had stopped, I think that Syracuse defender would have been right on her and she wouldn't have been able to turn and shoot. But she also took a nice angle into that, right? She didn't just run up north-south. She kind of did a little bit of a C cut. So she's still coming up, but does a good job, one, keeping her feet moving, but two, a little bit of a C cut there.
I like to call that attacking the pass.
Yeah.
Or moving through the pass. I think, for any players out there, like that concept, not waiting for it, especially against the zone, I think is key.
Definitely. Another draw control here from BC. I think Belle Smith was able to get that one on the circle. I think BC may have won all three of the draw controls so far in this quarter. The girls on the circle are doing a great job, but Syracuse,
wow,
was trapping them there. Had a chance to get the ball. BC got this ball back. Both teams definitely looking to trap and double.
Yeah, I think someone from BC has to support Belle Smith there on that one. She just kind of got chased around for about 45 yards.
Yeah.
Kind of left her out to dry, but luckily they recover it. Now they get in settled possession. 5-5. BC's closed the gap. We got an even ball game. 9.5 minutes left in the second quarter.
We're seeing them keep the ball above the cage a little bit here as they now go behind. What you were talking about earlier with just some more carries. I think we're seeing maybe McKenna Davis start to do that more. The players up top were doing that. We see another top-down feed, which I think is exactly what Syracuse is looking for. Even though Martello was able to score on that last one, I don't think Syracuse is upset with the way it happened. They left Belle Smith open in the middle there. Belle looked to make a pass, and Syracuse knocked it down. And then we had a foul there on Belle Smith, on Bianca Chevrolet, I believe is how you say it.
Yeah, that wall pass is key in those kind of situations if you're not going to shoot it. But again, like making a flat-footed wall pass is massively different from catching it on the curl, kicking it out. If you were to watch back that possession and we don't, have the ability right now to pull it back, I would have loved to see BC work that elbow, dead space, low combo. When Davis carried, she pulled that low defender high enough that if they had another lefty to follow, they could have gotten a dunk.
Yep.
And if they would have just worked it back to that spot, kind of play that sideways 3-on-2, I think they've got some advantages there if they look for that, but they're kind of, again, they came back to that same top down feed.
Yeah, I think Syracuse wants to get a good possession here. BC is making it hard for the outlets to get the ball, applying pressure kind of everywhere. They're looking to double, but also make those outlets both in front and behind. They're pressing out. So doing similar things to what they were starting to do towards the end of the second quarter and end of the first half. But we got Emma Tyrell with the ball here up top.
Oh, that's one you say, don't rub it. That one stings a little bit, and it's not a dangerous shot. We can call that a dangerous skip pass.
Yeah,
she just catches it right off the back, and there it is, Steven. BC transition.
Yep, I think that's exactly what BC is looking for there. Right, they're pressing out really, really far on ball and on the outlets on defense. They cause Emma Tyrell to throw a dangerous skip.
Ooh.
That I think that defender right in the back. They get the ball out, they clear it to Belle Smith, their most athletic midfielder, and they score in transition, which we were talking about earlier. They get that ball. I think Ken Davis recording her first point, finding a streaking Belle Smith. Really good job of running that fast break. And even though Rachel Clark, I believe, was handling that with her right hand, I believe she's a righty.
I think she's a righty.
And that's totally fine to do on that opposite side.
Yeah.
She's playing that top left, but if you angle your body correctly, you can handle it, just like Rachel Clark just did a really good job of showing us that.
Right hand, right pipe. Beautiful cut by Smith. 6:30 p.m. It's dinner time. Got to finish your dinner on the crease. I also, would say that it's a pretty nifty finish there by Belle Smith.
Yeah.
And with that, I am going to take tonight's race to the race to nifty. Shout out to Booker Corrigan.
Booker Corrigan. I feel like every video I used to watch at the MIAA when I was in high school, I was like, who is announcing this game? And every single time he was shouting that out.
Yeah, and the Boys Latin just had a stream, and one of the kids that was doing the announcing gave him a shout out. And race nifty Booker Corrigan, but it was 15-7, and there was 3 minutes left in the fourth. And I was like, you're waiting too long to win. Even there, I felt a little delayed there, middle of the third quarter. And here's Ward at the island.
See BC crashing down there. So they're not gonna let Emma Ward stay there for too long. And once she makes that move to really commit to the middle, that's when they're crashing. They did a great job of timing that.
I'm just surprised we haven't seen Ward take that shot behind the back yet.
Same.
I feel like it's prime, and she scored that against Loyola. So I would like to see her mix that into her arsenal. But again, I think they haven't really unfortunate miscue there for BC on the exchange pass. But that's the second time in the game they've kind of given one of those away. But I would just say, and also a product of us talking about how they haven't had that many settled possessions. That's where, as an offensive player, you're feeling a little tighter about taking those chances because you don't want to give up another one.
Yeah. Look to get a settled possession here for Syracuse. I think maybe work a little bit of their two-man game. And once again, like I was talking about, just body language and continuing to attack. I think they need to attack this defense, bring the same energy back to them that BC's applying there, apply that pressure. And it looks like they're setting up correctly to do so.
Almost in position for another charge there.
Thought we were going to see her fourth. Looks like they might be getting into their patented weave that Gary Gates started when he was the women's coach. That's got to be a foul there. Nat Smith might get an 8-meter here. I feel like we haven't seen many 8 meters tonight. Coming into this game, free position percentages, Syracuse is at 49% on 8 meters and BC is at 58%. They both these teams play similar schedules in terms of the ACC, but they play different teams in different schedules. So some of those stats are skewed in one direction or another, but just wanted to make note of that.
Yeah. That's one, I think when you watch the film, it doesn't look as bad as it looked initially.
Yeah.
I think Baker's frustrated about that one. And there's Nat Smith capitalizing, second goal of the game, right on par with her season average of roughly 2 goals a game. And that's a huge equalizer for Cuse.
Yeah. Love to see the replay on this. Looks like Dolce may have gotten a piece of it, but Syracuse will take what they can get, and that's a great shot. We're at 6-6 with 5:01 in the third. Yeah, Dolce did get a piece of it, but I guess too much power there on that shot from Smith.
That one goes for the shoot low crowd.
I'm not huge into the shoot low crowd, and I don't think you are either from your tweet.
No, I'm a mix it up guy. I'm a change it up, change angles, change release points, test the goalie. If you're screaming at players to shoot to one spot and you're only shooting to one spot, you become predictable and scoutable. And I also think when you go to any NCAA Final Four highlight tape over the last decade, and I'm just going to say any, like I've looked at them, but I haven't. But I will say, how many goals are we going to see in those highlights that are stick side high?
Yeah.
Because goalies are just thinking, okay, there's no way this guy's just going to shoot at my stick. So you're always thinking move offside, because everyone's screaming shoot low and shoot to the off stick. Don't shoot it at their stick.
Yeah.
And then how many times, even like that, she's moving opposite and gets a piece and can't recover.
Exactly.
So it's just, again, it's a game. It's a game within the game.
Yep. See another draw control there by BC. They've really improved just throughout this game and have been doing a really good job on the circle. And we were talking about that earlier. They have those athletes on the circle that can also be threats in transition and threats on offense. We see the Virginia-Syracuse men's game popping up there in the left side. That's a huge game. We're going to preview that tomorrow on our podcast, which is going to be on YouTube Live, so you can find it on the same place here. You can catch it live or on replay wherever you are, if you're driving, if you're sitting at home, if you want to throw it on the TV. Looking forward to that and looking forward to this weekend's games.
Yeah, talking about the draw too, Stephen. I believe last year Boston College finished in the top 10 in draw control percentage, and I think a big reason for that is the influence of Sam Apuzzo. Sam Apuzzo was a grad assistant when Kayla Trainer was on staff. Obviously, one of the most decorated players in college lacrosse history, and a Boston College alum, and continuing to dominate in AU. And so, she's on staff, so she's working with the offense and with the draw team. And, I think they're making some nice adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
I think, again, even just like face-offs and men, sometimes the tweaks on the draw play are a little foreign to me. So I'm not going to, make anything up here. But they're certainly making some nice tweaks, and they're competing for a lot of loose ones on the circle as well.
Oh, nice move there at X from Ward. Great save by Dolce. Really shifty move there by Emma Ward. I think that's a little bit what you were talking about in terms of, I think Schweitzer had that first initial dodge. She drew it and then moved it. I think right off of that first pass, usually it can be dodge, pass, dodge. But I think against this BC defense, it's almost beneficial if you dodge, have that kind of dummy dodge a little bit, move the ball, and then have that dodger go. We see a goal there by Emma Ward. She found space in the middle. I'm not sure how she got open there, but that's definitely a look that Syracuse is happy that they're getting. Emma Ward, hands free, inside the 8, kind of dead center. Some nice goal there.
Nice cut, getting open from the backside. I think there wasn't too much to it. I couldn't really tell if she came off a pick or not, but the rotation for BC was just a little late and kind of mistimed the angle that they needed to take.
Yeah, and I like Syracuse went early there from X, right? They're attacking from a little bit from that low wing /X with Schweitzer, and then getting that look from Ward. And then it looked like they may have been going into their weave, but good look for them out of there. Talking back to our conversation about Booker Corrigan, I shouted out the MIAA. I don't know if Brendan Curry is still listening to this, but he texted me saying, "You watched the MIAA in high school?" ? I knew it because I'm always ragging on him and you'll probably think the same thing because you played in it, but everyone always says the MIAA is by far the best conference in high school lacrosse. And I think it's very talented. I do, but I think there's also.
Who do you think are the better conferences?
Oh,
in
you're
high
the
school
same
lacrosse?
thing. It's the same thing.
Every other private school conference has 2 teams that play each other 4 times a year.
Yes, but
Malvern, Haverford, St. Anthony, Chaminade. Okay, great. You guys play each other 5 times.
My point is that I feel the MIAA can have players ranked really highly in these recruiting rankings, which we don't even have to get into. Just the stupidity, I think, around most of those rankings, not all of them. And I think players can get the benefit of doubt in that league. And I think there are players from a lot of different places, whether it be Connecticut, Long Island, Jersey, upstate. There's good players everywhere. I just don't love the obsession with the MIAA in the media.
Wait, so we're going to say that we're going to go from talking about the MIAA being the most competitive conference to now you ragging on.
I didn't say the most competitive. It's definitely competitive.
To now you ragging on. You're ragging on the
with
production of the players in college, which I just think is a separate thing, and I'm actually going to agree with you on.
Okay,
but I don't.
That's my argument with Brendan Curry, who I say to him, I'm like, yes, you guys are all highly ranked, and I just don't love the hype around it and how it translates to college lacrosse. That's my point.
Got it.
So we are saying some of the same things. I know the MIAA is very talented. It has a lot of good players.
The deepest, most competitive conference. That is my statement.
Yes. I don't.
You don't have to. I don't think
it. I mean, from
it's
top
good
to bottom,
for ratings for you to disagree.
There are a lot of good schools. I just don't like. I don't think the best players are always coming out of the MIAA, which is fine. I think great players are, but I think they get a lot of the benefit of the doubt when it comes to rankings and where they go, I think they can be littered across different rosters, but there are good kids everywhere.
Yeah, now a lot of the best players are coming out of nationwide recruiting boarding schools
Yeah.
that just plug all the kids from all the areas.
The one argument to what I'm saying is that both Logan Wisnauskas and Pat Spencer both went to Boys Latin and both won the Torton. And I know that's
And
very
Matt Brandow is
relative.
next, about to win the Torton.
No, he's not going to win.
3 Boys Latin players. I'm not trying to pump up Boys Latin. I will say Coach Dunn and I never lost to Boys Latin in our career.
Anyways, back to this game. We are at 1 minute, 57 seconds left. BC turnover there. We got Schweitzer looking to clear another really long outlet to Benoit. So
can someone cover this girl?
I know. I don't know.
Just shut her off in transition,
Yeah.
and they might be able to ride.
Getting a text now. All right, back to this.
Left to left from Schweitzer, giving a little shake. They're right into the weave. You know, the only thing I think sometimes that's tough with the weave is that when you fully commit to it, teams can hedge and like cut off dodges, but then the adjacent player is like outside the dodge automatically. And like if BC's sliding and hedging, it's like you obviously have to get multiple iterations going, you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. See another initiation there by Schweitzer. She was initiating on, I believe it was 2 goals ago, or maybe 1 goal ago. But now we're going to see Emma Ward working from back here.
Here it is.
This
Pull
matchup.
it. Pull it. Oh.
I think she wants to be conservative after she had that turnover last time on it, but I do want to see her pull that behind the back.
Oh.
Oh, I thought that one
Outside. Nice little step back action. I like that counter too a lot. I used to break that down with Charlotte North a lot.
Yeah.
She would step back and kind of shoot right over top.
Mm-hmm. See if BC can get one here.
8 seconds. Ooh.
That actually looked like it was pretty close, that Rachel Clark shot. But I think this quarter is going to come to an end. 7-6 Syracuse. Felt like BC really dominated that quarter, but Syracuse had those 2 goals at the end of the quarter from both Nat Smith off of the 8-meter and then Emma Ward with that nice outside shot.
I also will say for anyone that's tuning in through Hulu, this Abigail commercial is just like haunted. It's every time I watch Hulu, it's the only thing being advertised. What is going on? This thing looks awful.
I don't have.
Are you a scary movie guy?
No, I'm
you
not.
Don't strike me as a scary movie
Are
guy.
you?
No.
I was gonna say. I don't know how. I mean, whatever. This is another topic, but I don't know how people can just like go sit and watch scary movies. If I'm watching a movie, the last thing I want to be is stressed out. I'm looking.
Would you rather be in a big theater watching a scary movie when everyone else is around, or would you rather be in like your own house and apartment that's like haunted while you're like,
oh, a theater?
Theater?
Yeah, because I just like you can leave, and then when you go home, you're not like thinking that someone's in your house. I mean, you still could be thinking that something or someone is in your house, but theater, because I feel like it's more social and you could like, I don't know, be with a bunch of other people, and then there's delaying it. Like you got to get in the car to go home as opposed to just like finishing the movie and going to bed.
I just got some tweet engagement from Syracuse alum Meg Carney. Makes me wonder if she's tuning into the broadcast, and if she's not, a little disappointed. But let's give a shout out to the Meg and Meg show.
She is at this game right now. I had texted her this week.
I'm expecting like earbuds, 1 earbud in.
I know.
Got it in the pocket. Maybe like the TV stream up and watching the game so she can give all the analysis.
My dad's at the game. I guarantee he probably has his headphones in listening to this. I wouldn't be surprised.
We can single-handedly pick out the handful of viewers that might be, and they all have a Cuse connection.
Oh, yeah. I got a text from Brett Barlow, Syracuse alum. Section 3 upstate, he said. Section 3 upstate is not competitive. I'm sorry, Barlow. All right, draw controls. It says Syracuse is leading at 9-7. It feels like BC is leading in the draws. Maybe that was just from recency bias and BC winning a lot of those. We're seeing, it looks like the rain is pretty brutal there. Shout out to those fans that were just sitting there soaking. But love the game, and huge game for BC. And I think it's a shame that the weather's not a little bit better. I think last year this game at Syracuse was like the first nice day in Syracuse in the spring. A ton of fans were there. So hopefully they're getting the same turnout down at Boston College.
Speaking of the rain and the weather has not been great for lacrosse this spring. One of my newest rants is around, remember the crowd of people that used to freak out about pushing lacrosse back in the spring that made such a stink? And I'm like, oh, pushing it from February to March. March was miserable this year.
Started in April.
I guess. Where's the push lacrosse back crowd? I want to get that riled up on Lax Twitter.
There's a new rant every week, every month, every year. I'm sure there'll be some controversy in the Final Four again. All right, we're back here. BC won this draw control. We got 14:30 left in the fourth. Syracuse up 7-6. BC on offense. See what they can generate here. Got some good ball movement, but they've been keeping this ball up top a lot. They decide to bring this ball behind. I think getting Lapinto involved is great, as well as Davis, who I keep saying. Would love to see some more carries here.
Unreal handle.
Great handle, great finish there. Felt like that was honestly a little bit of a stagnant possession, just from a ball carrying perspective. I don't think the BC offensive players are moving too much, but Rachel Clark shows us why she's one of, if not the best finisher in the country. Finds a lane, great handle there. We're about to see this replay. Looked like maybe a twister finish. I could be wrong. Oh no.
Maybe a little bit of like a natural.
Yeah.
I will just say it did feel a little stagnant, but what they did a good job of there is they sent two cutters to Davis.
Yeah.
And then what happens when the ball moves through X, you have Benoit rotating back out, and then Baxter has to get across, and that's where Clark shoots that gap. So it ends up actually working out for them. And, Cuse was almost there, but Clark does handle the ball really well and kind of exploits that, push and pull of the zone.
7-7, 13:47 left. We got the draw. I think this is exactly how we thought this game would play out, just from a competitive standpoint and being close. I wasn't sure if it was going to be high or low scoring, but not surprised to see it tied here. And BC comes up with another draw control. Let's see if they look to do. BC decided to go a little bit earlier there. Got that pass knocked down, but they got that ball back. I don't know. I don't think that's a reset on the shot clock.
No.
But they still do. They've got around 45 seconds now. I would expect them to go back to a similar look. Work this ball behind. Find cutters inside.
There it is.
Yeah. It's a great find by McKenna Davis. Looked like, I think, a little bit of a sidearm pass there, which I think makes her such a threat. She has the ability to just feed from different angles, whether that's overhand, sidearm, kind of that 3/4 look, and continues to still put it right on on the cutter's stick, which is just a really high level play and what makes her such a good feeder, along with other things.
We said it at half. BC was creating good opportunities. Now they're starting to finish and cash in.
Mm-hmm.
Lapinto, Clark, again, household names that we talked about, and Davis continuing to dish and deal. Great looks.
Yeah.
And what I love there even more is notice how Lapinto was moving to Clark or Bell Smith, whichever one was down there. And then when they zip it across to Davis, the girl that was trying to cover up Lapinto has to then snap back to her base zone spot and then go play Davis.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happens, Lapinto put on the brakes and followed that defender, and then the other defender's behind, and that allows her to find that soft spot.
Yeah. I think you're spot on there. As we see, Kate Machewski does a great job. She won that ball to herself. Syracuse clearing the ball. Looks like BC did send a defender over there to Benoit, but Benoit's able to handle that pressure. Maybe they're catching on to what Syracuse has been doing on this clear.
I think we need to make a reel of Benoit
We do.
catching bombs from the Cuse. I mean, she's like out there like a wide receiver.
It's impressive.
It's like Brady to Randy Moss, honestly. I'm watching I got a couple episodes left of the Dynasty.
Great take there by Olivia Adamson. There looks like they're looking to ISO behind. I think that was one of the first times I've seen Olivia back there just ISOing. It's been a lot of Schweitzer and a lot of Emma Ward, as we saw, along with Nat Smith on that last possession. But good take there by Adamson. It looked like it just slipped out of her stick, but she got her hands free.
Here's the weave. BC's doing a nice job of trying to step up and get through on the weave, too.
Yeah. They're trying to prevent them from getting over the top. And I was just going to say to look for one of those rollbacks, and Emma Tyrell right on cue comes across the top, rollback. Really good find, and also really high IQ play from Adamson there to stay and find that soft spot. Great job of putting those players in the right spots, and then the players just making plays. We are tied up 8-8 with 11:33 left.
I'm just impressed with Tyrell's ability to feed it right out of the roll with the inside hand. You know, she doesn't even switch hands.
She and her sister Meg, who graduated last year, just phenomenal lacrosse players. They're not the most intimidating from like a speed perspective, but I think the way they play the game, they're so skilled and sneakily really deceptive. Like they're quicker, I think, than defenders think they are. And they do a great job of getting their teammates involved, of creating their own shots. And definitely two of the best Syracuse players in recent memory. And that says a lot with kind of the talent, especially on offense, that has gone through there. And we see there Kate Machewski winning the ball to herself, finding Emma Tyrell right away, which we've been talking about. Kate Machewski always does a good job of winning the ball to herself. And the girls on the wings are doing a really great job of getting available for her. And Kate Machewski is handling that pressure and getting it to them. So Kate's obviously, I think, going to look to continue to be winning it to herself and not letting the BC circle get involved. Syracuse looks like they're going to go right into this weave and see if they can get another good look. BC is going to be aware that Syracuse is probably going to try and maybe come back to the middle as we see Nat Smith rolling there into that double. I think BC is going to get called for a foul there, but BC makes that adjustment right after that Emma Tyrell roll back to the middle. They see that Syracuse thinks that they might have something there. Nat Smith goes for it, and they send a double.
You know, it's such a good example, though, of they do so much right, but then they're just a little over aggressive on trying to check.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so tempting for defenders to go for those checks. If you can just hold and, you know, Baker was there to support Smith, but hey, they win the run out on the 8-meter, 8-8 ball game, 10:30 left. Smith probably wants that one back.
Like it's
kind of yanked high.
I don't understand the backup. I feel like on girls 8 meters, there's always like either 2 or 4 girls on the back line. They're just like on the line.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't know how the ref, and I'm not saying the ref called that the wrong way. I'm not saying it's the right way. I don't know how you call it.
Yeah,
but
I think it's
they're like all glued to the end line. So it's just,
yeah.
I think it's a tough call. I would love to almost see those two or four players back there have to be, I guess, off the line, but I don't think we need another rule.
I mean, it's just another fascinating difference.
Yeah.
The men's game is 15 yards from end line to goal line. So if you cheat that too much, like you get backdoor cut.
Yeah.
And you don't have 8 meters in the men's game. So like you're always having to be in the defense, whereas like in the women's game, like you can afford in an 8-meter situation to just send a defender back there to just chase.
Yeah.
And you just react to the shot and you get lucky half the time that you actually win possession.
Yeah. Syracuse defense, I think, gets what they want there with that top down feed, but they foul. We got McKenna Davis here on the 8-meter for a free position. She decides to take it out. I was looking at her shooting percentage. I think she's around high 30s, which isn't terrible, but it's lower than a couple of other players on the BC roster. And we see her go for another kind of backhand behind the back look there. Creative shot. I like it.
Another nice feed there inside
Yeah.
and a creative shot. I'm just curious, like, I think this is where sometimes we don't have access to all the film that we would like to be able to break down. I would love to see a shot chart and have some sort of analytic comparison of what types of shots she's getting.
Yeah.
Because if you think about how their offense is kind of structured, she's creating and dishing a lot, or you have middies dodging, drawing slides, hitting her, and then she's hitting righty cutters.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen tonight 4 or 5 of the assist opportunities, and there's Schweitzer down the throat.
Wow, great play.
Hype goal for Savannah Schweitzer. I don't think anyone on the team gets more fired up in general.
Yeah, for anyone's goal.
For anyone's goal.
She gets more hyped up when other people score. I feel like
she's
the ultimate.
She brings
teammate.
the juice. She's the glue.
And that was a great move. Great split. I think she's pretty smooth with her stick.
She is, and she's always had great hands. She's got great handles. She turns her shoulders well and knifes down to the cage.
Yeah.
She reads slides well. Savannah is one of the most, lax rat in the best way players that, I've ever gotten to know and work with. And to your point, she is an incredible teammate. She's a leader. She's vocal. She brings the energy. And, she's a huge piece to this Syracuse offense and team.
Yeah, and I like how she kind of went there before BC could really set up, before they could get in, I think, the slide package situation that they wanted to get into. I don't think, at least I wasn't expecting Syracuse to kind of go so early there, but I really like the call by Kayla Trainer and by Schweitzer to take that and take advantage of that matchup. And we see there a Syracuse win on the draw control. They are coming over into the offensive zone here. BC is going to look to trap. Good handle.
Is that a timeout there by
Yeah,
Cuse?
I think Syracuse took a timeout. So I think in the women's game, you get 3 per half is what it looks like. I think that's Syracuse's first timeout of the half. Great time to take it. BC has already taken 1. So they each have 2 timeouts left. 8:20 left in the fourth quarter. 9-8 Syracuse. There were some other games today on the women's side. Going to pull up some scores here.
Believe Penn State knocked off Hopkins.
Wow.
And that train keeps rolling in Happy Valley on the women's side.
Who did? Penn State had that big win over Northwestern. Then they lost to Ohio State the next day after it. I don't know if that's considered necessarily a bad loss or not in the Big Ten, but I remember them having a huge loss and then kind of a come down.
Then they bounced back and beat Maryland.
Yeah.
And then they continue that against Hopkins. So they just knocked off 3 of the top 4 teams in the Big Ten within the span of 2 weeks.
They did beat Northwestern, lost to Ohio State, beat Vanderbilt, lost to Michigan, beat Maryland, and then just beat Hopkins. So Big Ten, I feel like this is the best season we've seen top to bottom in Big Ten women's lacrosse, which has been great to see. They'll most likely have the number 1 seed in the tournament, unless we'll see how this Michigan Northwestern game goes on Sunday. I believe Northwestern is at Michigan. Seeding is obviously super important coming down the stretch. In some other rivalry games, we had UNC playing Duke women. UNC came away with a win 16-11. Taking a look at this box score, Caroline Godine 3-3. She had a phenomenal freshman year last year. Darcy Felter, Caitlin Warsberger, Ashley Humphrey, all with strong games there for UNC. As UNC, I would say for them, they've been having a bit of a down year. They're 9-5. I think they have some injuries, but they still have a lot of really great and talented players on this roster that can do a lot of damage. And I think they're still the type of team, like if come NCAA tournament time, I don't really know who's happy to be getting UNC as an opponent. So we'll kind of continue to keep track of them. I'm not out on them by any means heading down the stretch. Other games today that are standing out: Notre Dame put up 23 against Louisville. Clemson and Pitt, 2 of the more recent ACC program add-ons. Clemson came away with a 12-11 win. All of these games are on the women's side. So we got this game back on. You see there, Syracuse leads the series 17-11. BC's won the last 4. And we are about to pick up action again. 9-8 Syracuse, 8:20 left in the 4th.
Oh, I think I misspoke. I think I thought the Penn State game was final. It looks like they're up 10-7 in the 3rd.
Got it. I'm seeing 11-7 now.
My fault.
I didn't know if I was behind.
When you read, my dad's text messages, they're very unemotional. They lack punctuation. And I saw Penn State beat Hopkins, and maybe he meant they were beating Hopkins. So we'll blame that one on him. Here's Nat Smith with the redodge. Oh, that might be dangerous. Maybe it hit the
I don't
stick.
think, though, since it was
below
someone
goal line
behind. Yeah. I don't know if you can call that. Going with Schweitzer here up top again.
She's cooking. I think when they're starting those high dodges in the middle, the rollbacks are to the middle of the field are going to be there.
Yeah.
I would like to see some of them dodge weekend first
and then come
to
back.
set up their roll.
Yeah. You might see that with Olivia Adamson if she can be on that left side a lot, but I think she's a true righty. She's really talented with both. Bit of a force there inside from that feed from Emma Ward. I didn't have the greatest look at it, to be honest with you, but we got BC clearing now. Both of these teams have been clearing the ball really well, really efficiently.
I mean, if you're looking at this game right now, you're thinking about 4 possessions.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. 4 possessions, maybe a couple turn quick, maybe a couple extend. So these next couple are going to be huge.
BC had a little 2-on-1 there for a second with Rachel Clark and McKenna Davis that I thought they might go back to, just out of that early offense a little bit. I would imagine that they're going to try and get this ball behind, but it looks like we might get a little bit of an isolation from Clark.
Nice look.
Yeah.
There it is.
See McKenna Davis driving up that left side, does a really good job handling pressure. And also when you're playing against that zone, right, you're feeling what that defender is doing. Are they staying with you? Are they leaving you? Looks like she may have been passed from one defender to another. Need to get a replay, but that defender slides off of Clark. Yeah, that they ended up passing her. Clark steps into the lane. Davis finds her. And great connection there from those two. Another sidearm pass from Davis, able to deal with that pressure from that slide down.
And you said it, and I'll reemphasize it. Biggest snub in the inside or in the Tewarton top 25 nominee list, McKenna Davis.
Yep.
Just continuing to put on a great performance, making great decisions for her team today.
Yeah, and on the men's side, Peyton Cormier, which I will be getting into tomorrow. He was not included all year on the top or any tour and watch list, and he is not listed in the top 25. And he will probably leave UVA this year as the all-time Division I leading goal scorer, if not top 3. All right, 9-9, 6 minutes left. Face off or draw about to happen. Ground ball battle. Syracuse comes up with it. And we'll see Katie Goodale almost one-man clear. BC is going to look to trap, so we're going to have to – Syracuse, is going to have to slow play this clear. BC is going to look to cause a turnover. Schweitzer again with another big outlet. This time she goes opposite side of where Casey Benoit has been, throws it to that box side, and BC causes a turnover. Syracuse is going to want that one back. We got 5:25 left in this fourth. So that could be a huge play, right? I've been hyping up how good both of the clears have been. BC just scores, and now they're going to get the chance to get some more momentum and maybe take this lead. I like this ball back here, working that same action with McKenna Davis.
That's one I think, Clark really saves that again early in the possession.
Yeah.
I think if you're Weeks,
just want to pull that out.
Just pull that out,
Yeah.
And again, I've easier for us to say from the booth, from the studio.
Mhm.
But I think they'll watch that one back, and now they just need to dig in and make a stop. If you're a BC fan, so. Again, those low angle shots, we know Delaney Schweitzer gobbles those up. She's got 10 saves on the day, just over 50%.
Good clear there by Syracuse. And they'll look to get set up here with just over 4 minutes left to play. This one is definitely coming down to the wire.
Quick plug from a clearing perspective. Matt Dunn in our Circle community made a nice webinar around clearing as a high school coach, and obviously more on the men's side, but 90% was a number that he really talked about using as a great clear percentage. And that Schweitzer coming up huge, getting underneath.
Another isolation from her. I think if you had told me that Delaney Schweitzer was gonna, or sorry, is it Delaney or Savannah? Savannah. Sorry, Savannah.
Let her cook.
That just had another isolation goal. I think she's a fantastic player, but she hasn't been known for isolating and having those ISO dodges one-on-one. She's had 2 phenomenal ones. Fancy footwork right here around the crease.
Wow. No, doesn't even sniff the line.
Wow. That's impressive. Great finish there. Great juice goal from her. Stepping up big. I believe she's a 5th-year senior and closing out her regular season on a high note.
She's played tough today too. She's taken some cross checks in the face. Bodies have been flying around. She got underneath on a similar move early in the game, shot it wide, probably would have wanted that one back. And then she comes back with a similar move, gets under and sticks it home. There's no way this referee crew can call this one back. That would be
I want to see her left foot not there.
No.
But after, that would be the only thing that they could be questioning. But I think it's good. They're going to they're going to have to get a different angle. Yeah, there's no way you can overturn it with this angle. It looks clear.
But the only thing I'd say, she makes contact. Looks like she makes contact with the goalie. So like if they're going to call that, and that's, I would need a refresher if anyone's watching, can the stick cross the sphere in the college game?
Did she get pushed from the defender? So in the women's game, you can challenge a call and review it. So say BC challenges right now that she's in the crease.
Oh, it's close.
The refs can go back
and
they can call a push or a card on BC for something else that happened off ball or separate. So when you're a coach challenging it, I believe the refs are going to say to you, okay, but we're free to call whatever we may have missed. And in my opinion, that is absolutely outrageous and should not be allowed. And I don't think is allowed in any other sport. So I think that's something that needs to be addressed in the off season. You shouldn't be able to go back and call something that you missed. If you challenge a call, you should be saying, hey, I'm challenging that they were in the crease. And that should be the only thing being reviewed. We're about to get an answer here. Let's see. Bringing the coaches in.
Oh man, they're about to call something crazy.
Yep.
You know when they're bringing the coaches in.
Acacia Walker walked away quickly there.
What's
What
the
is
call?
the call?
Goal.
Goal's good.
Buckets. Swaggy Swites.
Wow, good for her. I hate when it comes down to the end of the game and any sort of rules get involved. I just want to see the game play itself out. Not saying not to call things, just
Yeah.
in
No, I know
general,
what you
you don't
mean.
want to see anything. You don't want a storyline to ever be about the rules, is basically my point across the board.
I would love to.
Great take there.
I'm trying to pull up a quick crease action stuff in the rule book just to
You got the rule book on hand, on deck.
trying to download this. Whip
All
it
right.
up.
We are resuming play here. 10-9 Syracuse, 3:42 left
Huge
in
draw.
the fourth. Seems like BC is looking to put this ball out into play outside of the circle, and Syracuse is looking to keep the ball as close to Kate Machewski as possible. That's really where I feel like the two teams have found success either way.
Wow. Huge draw control
Yeah.
there.
And I believe that just went against exactly what I said. I think BC won the draw within the circle, but with their circle players.
Based on last possession here, if you're BC, you just want to work for a great opportunity. I think they took the first one last time. It was kind of open. You got 60 seconds on the clock. You want to use it. You want to be sure of it.
Yeah, I agree. I'd work this ball behind, maybe get some action up top first, get this ball behind to both Davis and Lapinto. I think they've done a good job of dissecting the defense. If you're Syracuse, you don't want to have any ticky-tack fouls. That's going to put BC on the 8-meter. Want to just play good, solid, straight-up defense, which I think they've been doing a really good job of all game.
Wow, off the pipe.
Off the crossbar.
That was a great look for BC.
It's
Big
a
run
great
out.
set by them.
Great set.
They're all calm, cool, collected, moving the ball well, moving their feet, and they're being patient, waiting for the right look. So they're going to, I think BC ran that out. We get a replay of this shot here. Great time and room. Martello is a great player.
I like how she's not afraid to shoot it high.
Yeah.
You know, we were just talking about that this week, like we mentioned, and we actually, you know, and I'll put the link in the chat for, you know, for any coaches or players watching. We, you know, put out a course this week on creating your own shooting and dodging workout. And, you know, something we think players can use to, again, vary up what they do and, you know, continue to improve their games. And you're seeing just some high level shooting in this one so far.
We get a look at the ACC standings here. So Syracuse has locked up the 1 seed in the ACC tournament, which I believe begins on Wednesday, April 24th. So quick turnaround here. And just a lot of really good games that we're going to be able to see and look forward to. And there's a really good chance that these two teams could see each other again next week, that they could see each other in the tournament. So probably not the last time this season. We see Notre Dame as the 2 seed. They're 7-2 in conference play. BC is 6-2 in conference play. Notre Dame has that head-to-head win with them. You see UVA there in the fourth seed. We've been talking a lot about them this year. They've had some really big wins, most notably last week against BC in overtime. Huge shout out to the first year coaching staff there. They've done a tremendous job.
They've been fun to watch. They have some really talented younger players. Morgan Schwab has been on a tear as a 5th year. I think they've made a big shift in their defensive strategy, playing more of the roving style zone. Coach Kerrigan Miller, is a two-way midfielder in her career and, really, took to that zone strategy in college. And then, coaching for alongside Sonia and Mike at Towson the year prior, they went down as a staff to UVA and they've done great things, and they're going to be a force to come in the ACC. And, another one we haven't talked about as much tonight is Notre Dame. Was just looking up, 23-10 victory over Louisville. A lot of their box scores look like football scores, and they're averaging 17 goals a game.
Wow. Very impressive. I don't know what it looks like maybe it's been around the time or clock. Bit of a stoppage here. We are not able to get sound right now, but play has resumed for us. So I think BC is going to look for a similar possession to the last one. Keep working it. Be patient. Don't force anything, but don't be afraid to take a chance, right? Going to have to take a chance at some point being down 1 with 2 minutes left here, but I don't think it's time to necessarily panic.
Ooh. I would just love to see like the drag and throwback up the arm.
Yeah. I don't know if it's because they don't feel like they have another lefty that can trail Davis there. Maybe they could do it on the right side. I know Bell Smith has played back there before.
Right there, you got Lapinto's got that chance to sneak with Goodale coming up the wing.
I think they should maybe test it out on the right side. Could have Clark or Bell Smith trailing Lapinto.
Wow. Holy smokes. Steven, that's that same action that we saw earlier where Davis is working, zips it through X. Schweitzer can't get that interception, and then Clark shooting that gap. We're going to have to hit that breakdown. Yeah, I think in the breakdown log for this coming week.
And I think both goals she's been cutting down same side, like ball side. So it hasn't been across the crease. So Correct. It's been a very
straight down,
a pretty challenging handle for
with
her.
With her stick to the inside.
It makes for a great finish in terms of having your stick to the inside, but the handle itself, usually you'll see a lefty cutter going down to a righty feeder and vice versa. But we're seeing a righty cutter going down to that righty feeder in Lapinto. So a great job by Clark there. And we are all tied up. You knew that Rachel Clark would get more involved in this game. Herself and McKenna Davis, they went into halftime without a point combined. And Rachel Clark there, 3 goals so far. McKenna Davis, 3 assists. .127 left. Draw is about to happen here. We are tied 10-10.
Big one. Second ball opportunity.
Huge ground ball play here. BC comes up with another one. I don't have the live stats in front of me right now, but at half, BC was dominating the ground ball battle. And they come up with another one there.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was at half. I mean, if they're statting at 13-11, it feels like all the key ones down the stretch have been BC.
Yeah.
And that's Weeks, gritty, grinder, coming up with a big one.
I'm seeing ground balls that BC 17, Syracuse 6.
Wow.
Although I don't know how accurate these are because clears wise, Syracuse is listed 17 for 17. And I know that they had that one that was not successful when Schweitzer had thrown it to the box side. We'll see if Syracuse's defense comes out and surprises BC with something. I know a lot of times in the men's game when teams are primarily playing man and there's an important timeout with not a lot of time left in the game, maybe they'll switch to zone to throw the offensive coordinator off. Syracuse has obviously been playing in a zone and they don't play much man. But look for Caitlin DeFleece, one of the best defensive coordinators in the game, to do something strategic here. Draw controls here. Syracuse 13, BC 11. Rachel Clark shooting 50%, so below her season average of 63, but still super impressive. Syracuse, obviously, if they get the ball back on offense, they've had success going with Schweitzer. They've had success with Tyrell. Emma Ward has had a nice goal or two. Liv Adamson. So they've got options on there. I think they're just hoping that they get the ball back. And then obviously we feel like we've been watching a ton of BC's offense here in the last 2, 3, 4 minutes. They're no names. We've been saying them all night. McKenna Davis, Rachel Clark. Those two have been great.
If you're Cuse, we've seen how they've shut Morgan Schwab. Do you shut a Clark or a Davis here?
I would shut someone a couple about 20 or 30 seconds into the possession. Yeah. So I wouldn't do it right away, but I would do it as the possession continues, right? Because BC's not going to, they have 81 seconds left on the shot clock and a minute left in the game. They're probably going to try and hold for this last shot. They would rather the game go to overtime than turn the ball over and get the ball to Syracuse. So I would look, if I'm Syracuse, to switch into something, right? You just had the time to get on the same page, switch into something here, maybe with 30 or 25 seconds left. I would like a shutoff. I'm not a defensive coordinator and I'm not much of a defensive mind, but as an offensive player, I think that can really throw off what they might be looking to do. And we're seeing BC hold the ball here, right? We got 45 seconds left. They're not looking to press this early.
They can turn the shot clock off.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
So it looks like Clark is being heavily guarded inside, but that could be just because she's inside. I don't know if it's a shot. No. It's not.
Oh, that's the classic look from BC. Martello, they scored on this look last year.
Davis with this ball behind, getting it to Clark.
Ooh, timeout.
Timeout.
I would love to be able to pull this clip for you, Steven.
I know. I want to see that again. That's a good job by the Syracuse defense. We are now at 10.4 seconds left. BC calls a timeout. Good hold there. I'm not sure of the play that you're talking about. I'm sure I've seen it before, but good catch on your front and also good catch on Syracuse's front that they were able to recognize that and shut that down.
It's basically as BC throws it down from the elbow to low, the righty elbow kind of relaxes and then cuts to the middle of the 8.
Did they have Clark?
Martello scored on that.
Or was it who did they have on that elbow?
Clark was the cutter there. She was kind of relaxed and looked like she wasn't involved and then cut. And I wish I could find it here for our audience quickly.
Maybe one from last year's game.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
I did a webinar this week, just did an end line play, and CJ Kurtz from Cornell does a great job being deceptive off ball, just holding, acting nonchalant like he's not involved in the play, and then dashing to the ball, which I think is kind of what you're alluding to there. But looks like we're going to get up and running again. 10.4 seconds left, 10-10, fourth quarter, Syracuse, BC tied. Feels like we've been here so many times, both games last year, 1-goal games. BC obviously going to look for a quick hitter here. They don't have much time, and Syracuse going to look to dig in and not foul, right? You don't want to give BC an 8-meter with 2 seconds left.
100%.
So ball's behind to start. Going to bring it up to the wing here.
Ow.
Wow, great play
Huge
by
stop.
Schweitzer. So Cassidy Weeks had brought it over the top, was looking like she might look for a goal, threw back, ended up kind of being a bouncing pass behind. Davis ended up getting it. She looked to force the crease at the end with a second or two left. She had to throw it, but Schweitzer did a great job. I think she does that a lot, Schweitzer, of picking off passes. She's looked to do it a couple times on the wing when BC will dodge on the alley and try and get the ball through X. She hasn't been picking any of them off. I think BC's aware of it, but just a good final play there by Schweitzer to make sure that nothing sneaks in there.
So I knew I had this broken down. So I'm just going to share my screen real quick. Something that we can maybe look for, again, BC to try to exploit. Again, we both think they've been doing a pretty good job this half. Can you see that?
Here, let me share you. There we go.
All right. So this is clips from the game at Cuse last year. And it was just a compilation of some timing type cuts. Cut, back out, recut. So here's Smith, watch her back out. Defense moves, then she cuts back to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then this was what I was talking about. Like, look at this trigger. So this is tie game, very similar situation. This is what I thought they were going to score with Clark. Watch how Davis rolls off of that.
Yeah, I see that. Nice handle there. I remember that.
Yeah, so that's what I saw Clark looking to do. And then I think they might have hit it one more time. Right there.
Yeah, that's a nice play on that elbow.
So let's see if BC gets the possession. And there's Martello.
Be interested to see. I know Belle Smith it looked like she was behind there in a couple plays. I know earlier or at the start of that, she was cutting top down. Maybe in the play before that, she was behind. But I think we were alluding to earlier, and you've been saying that you want to see BC carrying that ball from X and looking for that throwback because they're getting that defender to come with them, which is what you're looking for sometimes in a zone. And if that defender stays with you, you want to throw back. And it's been open on that left side, but BC doesn't have a lefty back there. They do have multiple righties, and I haven't seen Belle Smith back there much tonight, but could look to put her back there or Rachel Clark just for a different wrinkle. And of course, we have the easy job of seeing this game and sitting here and not being on the sideline, so it's probably harder for them to see. So wouldn't be surprised to see it either way. But this game is exactly what I expected in terms of very competitive. I think regardless of the outcome, both programs, both coaches just playing really high level lacrosse, giving the fans exactly what they wanted. I know both of them want to come away with a win here, no doubt, but a great game and a great performance by both teams tonight.
So we got a question in here from Brian, how do timeouts work in lacrosse? The team that does not have possession cannot call timeout. The only time, I believe, as long as it's consistent, would be on a dead ball. So if the ball goes out of bounds,
then anyone can call it.
Anyone could call it. I would think.
Yeah, I think so. If BC has the ball,
shoots it.
If BC has the ball and they're running, Syracuse can't call a timeout.
Correct.
But BC could call a timeout.
Correct.
If BC shoots it and the ball goes out, Syracuse could call a timeout or BC could call a timeout.
Yeah.
But I wonder because it's not necessarily like a dead ball as much as like you can shoot a ball out and then the girl can kind of pick it right up and bring it right back into play. And I don't even know if they blow the whistle sometimes.
I think in women's, I think end line are still whistles.
Okay.
I think.
Not all the time, but I think you could call a timeout regardless.
Basically, I think you could call the timeout in that scenario as long as the referee hasn't signaled that it's going.
Yeah. Nice question, Brian. And shout out Nick Mariano. I know he was a great viewer that we had for the Duke Syracuse game, provided some great feedback. Nick Mariano, one of the best lacrosse minds that I know.
Also, I will shout out our audience. We are peaking in OT.
Let's go.
Highest viewership going into the final segment here.
Syracuse looks loose. I'm sure BC is as well. Like I said, it's been a great game. Women's games can be so long, right? This game started at what, 5, and now it's 7:26. Much longer than the men's games usually, but especially just with overtime, different calls, some different rules, the game can tend to be longer.
Yeah, let's check out the OT rules on the screen here. Sudden victory, 6-minute periods. All right, so it's a 3-minute halves, which always confused me. So that second 3-minute half, it's still considered the first OT, I believe.
Yes.
Then it turns to OT number 2, but it's all sudden death.
It's all sudden death. Yeah.
Wow, big one going Cuse's way on a draw violation. That's probably the first one that Cuse has won in the last couple.
Yeah, I don't know enough about draw violations to
There she is.
clearing the ball again.
We have to Benoit clear reel is in the cards. So we're calling it right now.
And we're laughing, but like it is so important. Like she's
Secret
brought this
weapon.
ball to the offensive end so many times.
I would love to see Adam Lombardi is posting a flyby breakdown in our community tomorrow. I would love to see Benoit on some flyby action in early offense. You know, let her cook, give her the keys, let her run some early offense.
I like that Syracuse they're playing, right? They didn't get the ball and immediately call a timeout. I think, in my opinion, and I haven't coached at this level, but I like when teams work through their offense, and if they're getting in trouble, then call the timeout, right? You had the time in between from the end of regulation to overtime to oh my,
what a save. And there's Schweitzer again drawing a great double team, beautiful throwback and beautiful save.
Good job of Smith recognizing that she should stay in that space. But great save there by Dolce. Stick side high. She's seen it go in tonight. She also changed levels. I don't know. I'm not one to knock a shooter.
Yeah,
often.
I mean, look, I will say the last thing I remember is her last 8-meter opportunity, sidearm high, right? Pulls it high. You know, every goal is different, you know, and that's again an interesting thing to always try to think about. But look, as a shooter, you know, one of the biggest keys is like put it on net.
Yeah.
Right. So you make the goalie make a save in a tight situation. So, you know, Dolce gets the best of it here. But I do think in general, when you do drop your hands, just like we say any other time, like just being able over time to change up some low to lows or some sidearm lows with some sidearm highs is also the next evolution to, you know, a shooter as well. But when you kind of put one shot in a vacuum, it's easy to say, oh, like, that cost you, but it's not the case. There's so many different plays that go into these 1-goal games.
Yeah. And Dolce, she's listed as having 6 saves tonight. It feels like the saves that she has made, I keep coming back to that one on Munchik earlier, when she had that kick save, and then obviously that one there on Nat Smith. She's made some really timely and really impressive saves that have definitely stood out here. BC calls a timeout when they get the ball. A little bit different for them there because they were on defense to start. They make the stop. They bring the ball over. So I understand that timeout. I like that Syracuse went with a no timeout. They got a great look. I think if you told the Syracuse staff that's what they're going to get out of the timeout, I think they're going to be like, absolutely, that's great. Nat Smith, hands free, no one around her.
Also, give your midfielders a breather.
Yeah.
You know, get Bell Smith a breather, get Martello a breather. You know, Baker and Weeks are Weeks has been playing 2 ways. Baker might have been out there. You sub her off, you know, and then you regroup.
Yep. So similar to the end of regulation, BC going to have 1:20. We'll look to see what Syracuse's defense comes out in. If they try and surprise with a shutoff or a lock at some point, we'll see if BC looks to mix things up. If they look to go to maybe a play that they have in the back of their pocket, if they just want to see how the offense unfolds, if they want to put another player behind, it feels like they've been mostly 2 behind tonight. In the past, I've seen them a lot 3 behind. So we'll see.
Let's see if let's see if BC looks to whip out that similar look we saw them execute on a few times last year. We haven't seen that specific action as much tonight.
All these players played in big games, played in close games. They all look confident, both sides of the ball. A lot of seniority, whether it's juniors, seniors, definitely veterans on this field. And BC's looks, they're going to hold it, obviously, to start. Probably go around 30.
I would go
maybe
around 30. I don't think unless you throw away the first pass around 30, I don't think the other team's going to push transition.
They're starting to move more, and that was around maybe 48, 50. I don't know if it's just a decoy. Maybe to see if Syracuse is going to switch something up at, say, the 30-second mark.
Wow. Inside.
Got Clark with the ball up top. BC working it around. We got 20 seconds left here. Oh, wow. BC goal.
Wow. Another handle in traffic.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, it's a tough one for Cuse to go down on, but big time play, and that's Weeks, right? We were talking about Weeks. She made an impact all game in the middle of the field. She busted the zone early with that lefty sweep on the run, and here she is handling a big time feed in traffic, and I believe that was Lapinto.
Yeah, I think so.
Pushing that in there. So she had a couple of really nice assists and looks, and they come up with a huge overtime win.
Yeah, Lapinto, she'll finish this game 1 goal, 3 assists, and I believe Weeks is going to finish with a hat trick and 1 assist, but also making plays off the draw in the middle of the field. Kind of a just nice give and go look there.
Wow.
And what we talked about, right? Getting that ball behind or to the low wing and feeding it up so that as Weeks is cutting here, she's able to catch this and still look at the goal. And it's not a one-timer, but an easier finish than the top-down feed.
100%. She does just a beautiful job, too, of, angling underneath. Momentum's going to the net. Her stick's downfield.
And she puts it off stick hip, like still under all that pressure, puts it exactly where the goalie is not. Especially inside, it's impossible for Schweitzer to get that unless it maybe hits her glove or her shaft or a body save. They're reviewing something, but
not really sure what they could
what
possibly be reviewing here.
Yeah.
But as someone who is a proponent of replay, I am fine with you taking another minute out of Steven and I's Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Just to make sure we get the right call. We didn't step in the crease. It looks to be good.
Yeah, that's a good goal.
Maybe you handled a foul there as well. And this is not going to be the last time that these two teams play each other this year. Very possible rematch in the ACC tournament. Probably very high potential a quarterfinal or semifinal rematch in the NCAA tournament. And I guess, are they going to finish number 3 seed?
Yeah, I think Notre Dame will be 2 because Notre Dame, BC, Notre Dame has that head-to-head. Syracuse is going to be the 1 seed. So for these two teams to see each other again, it'll have to be in the ACC championship game. Syracuse would play, if all the top seeds went out, it would be Syracuse versus Virginia in the semifinal and Virginia versus BC in the semifinal of the ACC tournament.
Really appreciate everyone tuning in tonight. My name's Deemer Class and was joined all night by Stephen Rehfuss. We really appreciate you guys spending time with us, watching the game. A lot of great stuff. Stay tuned on our social media for more content and analysis. Some of these clips we'll be breaking down. If you haven't checked out our online community yet, we're constantly sharing ideas about the men's and the women's game. And, stay tuned, for emails and content. We just put our website in the description. So hope you follow along and share the good word for the next time that we have a game cast. We hopefully have some great options lined up coming up for the NCAA tournament. So stay tuned and appreciate everyone tuning in.
All right. See you guys.